It seems like just yesterday that we were memeing an Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor start. I think Calvin Ridley went 103 in that puppy draft we did. Set off a title change of ADP on Underdog, and now here we are, guys, getting the band back together for at least for ship chasing one of our football sides as we gear up for season long here. But Beimfohr back in the saddle with us. How you doing tonight, Eric?
Well, I almost turned down going on the Swolecast earlier because I don't think any human can take being on two Peter Overzet shows in one day. But I'm taking a bullet. I'm biting a bullet for all of mankind. But I'm excited. First big dog. I haven't done a big dog, so I thought that was a good idea. I was excited. I think my eyes might roll into the back of my head from all the puppy drafts I've been doing for the last 2 or 2.5 days. I don't even know what day it is. It's a shit show with the puppy. So this will be a nice change of pace.
Yeah, we are going to be doing a big dog draft tonight. I just checked in. We are waiting for 7 people. That's fine. We'll get this filled. I was actually thinking ideally around 9:45 we'd get it filled so we can talk a little bit, but I'm just going to keep us registered and keep it up, and we can be flexible. But actually Gretchen, Pat are in the same boat as you because they did a podcast with me earlier as we decided on our main event team. So you guys are all having to deal with my bullshit today.
It's double Overzet day.
Well, maybe we're bigger influencers than I thought because now this is filling very fast and there's only 2 more people left. So we might just have to talk after the draft. I thought we were going to have to sit on it.
I wondered what we would break this week, but apparently it was registration timing.
It's tough to break the big dog. That's tough.
Well, the one conversation I do want to have about this before is just kind of talking through where we think the extra 2 rounds.
Hang on, there's a notification going on. Was that someone? Are you in a live draft right now? Was that the?
I told Pete I was trying to check how full the puppy was about a half hour ago and accidentally hit enter. I think my brain is so wired to hit the enter button that I hit enter. And so I can't hear or feel the vibrations with my headphones in.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Eric, what is your first kind of gut reaction on how the structure and things change with the 2 extra roster spots?
It's definitely so. I'm going to compare it to DraftKings and how I've been thinking about. And I'm closing in on 100 DraftKings drafts. Obviously, PPR versus non-PPR is pretty drastically different, but I've been using it to keep as much flexibility, including at the onesie positions, like as possible. I've definitely punted tight end a lot more. And even, I don't know about punting quarterback, but I've just used it to just destroy people at wide receiver, like even more, just be way more open to whether it's like if something happens at tight end, like, or, if you get a spot where Kelsey is the best pick or Kittle's the best pick, like you can do that. But I've just been trying to be more open to think about, like, these are also sharper drafters, right? And it's a ship chasing show. So we know how that goes with wide receivers. And so I've just been using those extra picks to be like, okay, dude, if I need 3 tight ends or I need 3 quarterbacks, do that. If I need a 7th running back, if I go 0 RB, I can do that as long as I can still win wide receiver and win the flex.
All right, this draft is full.
Jesus Christ.
How many ship chasers are in this? Because it's got to be so minus EV to just all pile into the same draft when it's a $250 price point.
I recognize a few friends. So we got Jonathan here at the wrap. We got King Coakley. We got Alejandro, I recognize. And then these are more, I think, just grinders here. Dome Favors and Ketchup Stain. So I don't think this is like a Ridley goes 104 draft, if that's what you're asking.
That is what I was asking. So that's
I kind of like that we have the middle of the board though, because it gives us a little bit more time to discuss as far compared to a panic turn.
When did Big Dog open?
Probably like 3 weeks ago.
So that's what I was going to ask. How many?
Who are we competing against?
Yeah, how many leagues have been filled, and then like what injuries do we need to, like Henderson, Thomas, like what do we need to think about with all that?
And also Green Bay.
Bay, yeah.
Is Adams the right pick here, or do we want to go?
Yeah. 234 total entrants, and I don't know when it opened though.
I think I want to say it was open before the Akers injury.
Yeah, but it's like how many teams? You know what I mean? Like
can't be
filled.
Many.
It can't be. There can only be like a couple of late round Henderson, right? So like I wouldn't necessarily.
Receipts says it's only 10% filled. So
yeah.
And Henderson was like 2 days into it.
Okay. All
right, we are on the clock here.
I think it's Adams.
Adams or Hill. Yeah, either Adams or Hill.
What do you Gretch, break the tie, Adams or Hill?
I'll go Adams. I like it.
Let's do it.
I'm fine with either, certainly. And Diggs going third feels like a ship chasing pick.
It does. I don't recognize. Do you recognize that handle, Ketchup Stain?
I've seen it before, but I don't know who that is.
Yeah. All right.
I love there was a comment that if the big dog was there at 6, we'd have a decision. And it's like, no, we were not taking Derrick Henry.
I would have logged off.
Did you, Pat?
This was fun.
You should have seen the team I drafted on the Swolecast today. I started.
I didn't see it.
I went in the first 4 rounds. I came away with Henry, Nick Chubb, and Chris Carson. The most high testosterone start you can do in best ball.
Why?
I just read the room, dude. I mean, I knew Kitchen was going to be punting it off with Titans. Davis was going to be drafting wide receivers 2 rounds ahead of ADP, and I was just scooping value, bro. I'm a value-based drafter now. I don't know if you heard.
So Ketchup is a grinder, apparently. Everyone's saying he's in there. Who timed out?
Got to be the big Henry team. The big dog.
Okay.
I guess that's an interesting thing. Like if you registered for this a while ago and it hadn't filled,
right?
It just like snap fills in about 5 minutes.
I mean, that is really interesting. Both of the teams after us might have with Kamara, Henry, or something, right?
Yeah. Well, Alejandro is he's a ship chaser.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's watching. And then I saw West Coast Gem from the One Hole is in the chat right now as well. So let's see what we're working.
It's like already a sweat to see if we're going to get any wide receivers.
Wow. You definitely do not normally see Hopkins ahead of Ridley and much less in the first round.
I took in a best ball today. I took DK ahead of Hopkins.
I mean, would you guys consider Saquon or Taylor at 2-7?
No.
No, I think we need to take a wide receiver.
Well, you're not going to have to twist Ben's arm to take a wide receiver, but
there's 2 here.
There's 2.
There's 3 picks.
Cootie's not going to be able to pass up on Jonathan Taylor timeout.
Well,
here.
I mean, Waller's sitting there too. If the 2 receivers go, like Waller
that's true.
In the second is a pretty sexy pick.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, we know Alejandro's grabbing a wide receiver here.
Do you see Alex's comment, Pete?
Yeah, he regrets taking Kamara. Got to read the room, bro. Let's see what he does. He goes AJ.
Oh, breaking our hearts.
You guys good with
Justin Jefferson over Waller, I think. You guys good with that?
I'm good with that.
All right.
Alex wasn't going to give you the satisfaction of getting AJ Brown. He just wasn't going to let that happen.
That hurts so much.
That's a good. I
heard you on. Oh, good. Sorry.
No, I was. Someone had asked if it's the exact same ADP across all the contests. I'm pretty sure they don't have that segmented.
It is. Hayden. I asked Hayden a while back.
It would be. That would be fascinating to see the big dog versus puppy ADP differences.
It's the same ADP across the entire platform?
Yep.
That's interesting. Because I've been doing... So I've done a couple Best Ball Manias over the last couple days to see if I could get... if those would be softer with everyone kind of firing at the puppy. And they really haven't been. It's been kind of the same. And I think that would make sense given that the ADP has been driven by the puppy. So if you're just following the ADP... which, is a natural thing to do, you're going to be kind of sharper.
Packers, Vikings, Sunday Night Football in Lambeau, Week 17.
There we go.
It's hot.
I was going to say, Ben, I heard you on Stealing Bananas getting a little bit more hyped about Justin Jefferson, which was fun.
Yeah, I came around to. I mean, come on, it's hard not to talk to Sean and find out that he's like, that high, and he makes all these cases, and you're like, yeah.
It sounded like you were squirming around in your chair when you started.
I can't really defend why I don't. I don't know why I don't like him that much.
Well, the guy
I want to take Brown.
Yeah,
you guys keep like hinting that you're both super high on Antonio Gibson, who obviously I'm very high on. I know Eric's very high on, but you won't like talk about it. Like you're like, you guys probably know why we like him. And I'm like, tell me. So I'm bringing you and Sean on a Good Football Show next week, specifically to try to get you to tell me why you like Antonio Gibson. So that's the whole show sheet.
Is that your entire strategy, Pat? You're just booking guests to confirm your biases on the show?
Tell
me why the guy I like is so great.
Really
I had Ryan Hodge on Tuesday, and he was telling me about why he likes T. Higgins more than DJ Moore, which was like a weird kind of bias confirmation because it went against one of my other biases.
A-Rob for me. What about you guys?
Yep.
Any other differences?
A-Rob for me.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Pretty psyched about that, honestly.
Yeah, I kind of think there's like a little tear break after A-Rob there.
I like Amari close, but it's just like more of a Dallas thing than anything.
Right.
And Dak is what have you guys noticed or thought anything more about Dak's really kind of falling a lot, like late 6 sometimes. Like he's closer to Russ now than he is to some of the other guys. So like, have you tried to plan around that at all, or just kind of taking it as it goes?
I've kind of taken it as it goes, partly because I already like the Dallas guys where they're going, or even a little bit ahead of where they're going. Like I'm still taking Amari. Obviously, really happy to scoop CD whenever I can get him. But I mean, here he goes right after he took Jefferson. But then you can get Gallup after the fact too. So if Dak falls in my lap and I don't have those guys, I just kind of scoop him. And like he's not. I don't know. I'm not that worried about it. I'm a little worried about it, but. Like he hasn't been throwing at all. Like they're playing this smart. Like I think he'll probably be fine.
Ben, were you going to make a push for DJ Moore there? He goes right.
No,
after
I'm
us.
just Alejandro is gonna apparently make it so that we can't have anyone that we actually want in this draft or that I want.
Yeah, this is going to be a war of attrition. It's going to feel good.
Oh man.
Haven't done a draft in a while. Is this where CD goes nowadays? He doesn't go there, but he is like now a turn pick basically in a lot of these drafts.
Yeah, I almost took him ahead of Keenan Allen today just because I wanted more.
Where are the grinders? This is a wide receiver pick every spot since we took one.
We
Who's
are
on
kind
the
of
board?
This draft room is holding up a mirror and it's just reflecting back at us.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to see the thumbnail, but was it us just strangling a dog? Just killing the big dog.
What? What? Who's on the
that's
board?
What we're doing.
Like, I honestly like. Are we gonna consider a running back here? Like, CEH went. I mean, Swift is the last running back to go. Or we're through all the main running backs.
That's a tier. Yeah, that's the problem. It's the tier. Like,
okay,
you want Montgomery. It's like Montgomery and Carson, right?
Yeah,
Dobbins, I guess.
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with any of that. But
I'm gonna make it. There's two. I think there's 2 guys here. Yeah, maybe 3.
Yeah. I don't do enough of these drafts. You guys are a lot more used to responding to this. I'm like, what the fuck?
I actually feel quite comfortable.
Me too.
You guys are giggling about it.
Damn it. I wanted Pitts. So you can Thielen and stack up the Vikings, or Ayuk is there.
Yeah.
Wide receiver still.
I like Thielen or Ayuk. The stack potential is really nice. I would be very comfortable with Ayuk though.
Yeah.
I think I prefer Ayuk just because I don't really even want to. Not that we'd have to go out of our way to get.
I'm on Team Ayuk there too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
We're open for both the rookie
quarterbacks.
Yes.
Ayuk feels great there to me, to be honest. I'm totally fine with it.
You guys' brains are broken. Your brains are broken.
Eric, I don't know if we've talked to you as much about Pitts. I'm curious, like, what your overall macro take on him is.
Yeah, I'm pretty in on Pitts. I've been trying to take a lot more Pitts, and like everybody, I try to soak as much value out of him as I can. So I'm not reaching for him a lot, but like, dude, this 5th round Kyle Pitts, and again, it was kind of like we talked about earlier, Pete, where like Etienne is falling now, and you're like dropping him into this range of the draft where it's like, what are you really missing out on taking? If you like Galladay, I guess that's fine. Odell, but it's those guys that you're missing out on, and like. I don't know. There's a real dream about it ceiling where Kyle Pitts is a 1st round pick next year. And like, I don't really know how even reasonable that is, but like, we're talking 5th round in a tier that the opportunity cost isn't that big anymore. He's not a 3rd round pick where you have to pass on CeeDee and Amari and those guys. So I'm trying to take quite a bit of Pitts.
The chat is tilted. We didn't take Dobbins, the perfect anchor for this team. Guys, what show do you think you're on? I mean, come on. Okay.
We're not on the clock yet.
We're going to be on the clock here in 10 seconds.
What about Etienne? Would you?
I was going to say I would take Etienne here, I think.
Yeah.
I'm down with it.
My only thought is like the way this room was going, I thought there was a chance he could even slide to the 6th.
Yeah.
But Odell would be the other guy that I would be. I mean, he's not going to slide now, but
we could go Odell. I'm okay with that. Any thoughts, Pat?
Let's go Etienne.
Yeah, we can do Etienne.
I've been getting more and more bullish on Etienne. I've been doing this running back research and just looking at like the guys who have popped for these huge seasons, and it's pretty interesting because you see like and Ben, I think you've written about this a while ago, but it's like there was this previous kind of. Or maybe Sean's written about it, but there's this like previous like kind of Uber back, right? Who's like crushing. But then that model basically is completely dried up. And Dalvin Cook is the only running back since before 20, like all the running backs who've done this came before 2016, and then Dalvin Cook, who have done it with less than 4 receptions a game. So it's like that's I think the first thing. Like, get me 4 receptions a game, and then we can figure it out from there. Like, if you're going to have that kind of big ceiling, and Etienne, I think he's got a chance at 5 receptions a game.
Yeah,
he's apparently unguardable already, which is what you want to hear when we know he's going to be playing in passing downs. I mean, he's massively undervalued. Like, can you imagine taking Najee Harris in the 2nd when you can take Etienne in the 5th? That's come on.
No.
They're like, even if you like Harris's, guaranteed touches better, Etienne was, in my opinion, the much better prospect for fantasy production. He gives you more explosiveness, especially.
You can't prove Najee has more guaranteed touches.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Right.
Guaranteed touches aren't a real thing.
We're making very big assumptions, and I think it's if we're laying odds, Najee's the favorite. But like, how much? How many touches are we even talking about?
And how valuable it touches?
Right.
Yeah, running 2-yard gains, on your own 30. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Right. James Robinson can do
touches.
that. I'd rather have him do that. Like, if we could assign, like, if we got to call the plays for our fantasy teams, we'd be like, this one's for Robinson. Like, Robinson gets this one. Like, we don't want them getting those touches. Those are bad.
Where are you guys at? Henderson versus Etienne is interesting.
Yeah, Henderson, I think, would have been a fine pick there, too. I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's interesting.
All right. We are going to be on the clock here. Andrews did go. Odell, of course, went.
We got some options.
We do.
Yeah, I think we got some pretty good options. Like, shockingly good.
Yeah.
Let's see. When did Hawkinson go?
He went before our 4th round pick, I think.
Oh,
right before our 4th round pick. I mean, 5th round, but I think 5th.
There's a lot.
This does. Yeah. Oh, well, I wonder if we.
I mean,
Are we rolling the clip?
Pete's favorite. Yeah, please.
Okay, all right.
Are we rolling the clip?
Roll that highlight
I
reel.
thought Alejandro was going to ruin it for us.
Me too.
You know me. I mean, why not? Chris G says in the 6. Chris, every single wide receiver's ADP is adjusted a round and a half. We just got him in the 7th, middle of the 7th in a normal room.
Yeah, no, you're right, Chris.
Yeah, Will Fuller went with just after.
He definitely should be a 5th round pick. You're right. We got a nice discount here. I agree.
Michael Gallup was the 501. This was a good deal.
There's no getting anchored to ADP in a room like this.
There really is not.
No.
So what are we thinking here? Structurally, what makes sense?
Well, I mean, I don't really like the tight ends in this range. I don't think there's really much to do there.
Me neither. There's actually, we'll see how it goes, but there's a play that I would like.
There's a play that I really like too.
Now, there goes Shark. I was going to suggest Shark. Get that little triple Jackson.
That would have been interesting.
The only thing I hate about doing that is it's not that you can't leave that unstacked. It's just if you start to get forced into Lawrence, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then if there's a screaming value on the board and you're like, shit, I got to take Lawrence now. Even, it just, you back yourself into a corner sometimes.
This dude just took his first receiver the 7th round and it was
Wow.
Oh no.
This guy's going to have a rough.
He does not know what's going on right now.
Eric, can you please clip that? That was like the most genuine, beautiful reaction of Gretch. Seeing this guy's team.
It's the perfect name. Lime green energy. There.
Oh,
right.
Come on, Juju feels like
Juju.
I like
Juju. Yeah, let's do it.
I didn't even see him. I don't know. I mean, even going Visca over him feels like a little bit of a stretch. Like, I love Visca. Juju at this point with Pittman and Curtis Samuel off the board.
It is crazy in this room to get a discount on any wide receiver in this range. People are spooked, I think, by that. I guess people just think the Steelers are a house of cards and Big Ben goes down. And
also we refused to play, and I was very much on the team. We're not playing Juju in the playoff tournament when he finally did have a big game. I got spooked. Juju was rough last year. It was not.
You and me had a good little back and forth talking about how dusty he was and just making fun of Leone.
Yeah.
And
Leone,
we
Mr. Rational Leone, had to score the most points and be right.
I get the last laugh on that, but it was fun in the moment.
He was correct.
Oh no, guys, we need to pour one out for our comrade in the 5-hole, D. Weiss, who has fallen victim to bye week Twitter. Oh no.
It's the 7th round and we're worried about buys.
The key is to draft
at wide receiver.
It does not matter what the buys are.
Oh my God. Eric, the one you had today, Twitter must not have been kind.
No. The people that follow me, I think don't. There are only a couple people that were like, I couldn't do that. I had that team and I wouldn't take Gallup because of all the buys. I'm like, dude, I took more. I took more week 7 players after that. I just didn't post it on Twitter.
Yeah, this is the part of the draft where it just gets there's just not a lot here. Especially when all the wide receivers.
Everyone who is in this draft is now apparently watching. At first, I thought there were a few people who were, but it seems like everyone is in this draft.
If we fired up a main event, would people jump in that? At what point will you not just come in and ruin the ADP? We want to stream. I'm happy to have a couple in. A couple's nice, but the whole draft.
It seems like a very expensive experiment to find out, Pat, but we might have to.
I
mean, Henry Ruggs, 7th round pick. This in the big dog, Henry Ruggs.
Oh my God. I can't wait to post this one. The big dog ADP is wild.
At the same point, I love where we're at. Like Juju in the 7th was a gift compared to
it was.
some of these guys that went ahead of him.
Yeah, Ruggs going there. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen Ruggs go that early.
Josh Jacobs in the 8th.
Josh Jacobs.
Bit of a reach.
Going behind Darnell Mooney.
I hope Josh Norris is not watching this. I love Kareem Hunt here.
Yeah,
I love Kareem Hunt here. That's great.
That's what I was thinking too. I like it.
All right. That's pick 91 for Kareem Hunt.
I mean,
yeah,
dude,
I know.
Etienne and Hunt.
This is why you don't in this room. This is why you do not take Dobbins. Where it seemed like we all like Dobbins, dare I say, in a vacuum, but in this room you can't make that pick there.
Well, the whole thing with this room is it's like an avalanche of wide receivers, and like you're gonna get buried if you like hang out too much. So you're constantly trying to ski in front of the avalanche. You can take a little detour off to the side, pick up a running back, but then you got to get right back down. You're avoiding the avalanche. you grab over, and then you're back. Because if you get Dobbins, the avalanche is going to catch you, and you're dead.
Elijah and Rondale both just won in the 8th.
Oh my god,
this is nuts. But to your point, Pat, it is like, I mean, I've said this a million times. You guys have all probably said it. Like, you have to like not experience this draft specific. No one has experienced this shit before, but like, you have to experience the draft and understand those pockets where you can take the detour without getting punished for it. And I think that's where people, right? The Dobbins thing is the example of you're going to get punished if you take that detour for Dobbins, because you are going to fall behind wide receiver and you're never going to catch up, and you're going to be the guy taking Ruggs in the 7th. But when you take the detour at Etienne, it's like, look what happened after Etienne. We didn't literally lose out on much. We still got Visca. We still got Juju, right? You have to be able to figure out that, like, where you can take those detours.
We did this to ourselves. I mean, if you would have told us a month ago that we would do this $250 draft together, and this is where the wide receivers were going, we would have just all laughed at you. Right. And now I think we're all kind of just like, yeah, I mean, what do we expect?
I mean, we sat there and we're laughing. We're like, no one's ever going to figure it out. You know, like, I don't know why, but it's going to take a few more years and it's profitable. And now, like, this is actually an efficient draft. Like, this is the way that it should go. Josh Jacobs probably should go after Darnell Mooney. Maybe we've gone too far towards receivers. I've never thought that.
I'm excited to what do we got? D-Weiss here.
I think we have a few options here.
Yeah.
Russell Gage is the top receiver.
Gage will still go after ADP.
I was interested in Edmonds there, but he goes.
I was going to suggest Aaron Rodgers because of Devontae Adams, AJ Dillon, which gives us kind of a different texture of that same idea, and Tyler Higbee just to get a tight end.
I like Rodgers the best out of that. I mean, I love Dillon, but we do have 2 running backs.
Yeah, the only thing about Rodgers is there's other running backs we like later, or quarterbacks, but I don't mind it in this context. We're gonna do it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, pretty good ADP value, but that's a fair point too.
Yeah, I mean, because you have all 3 of the rookies, but they're probably going to get pushed up in this room anyways, and now we only have to grab one of them.
Yeah,
right.
I think that was a good pick. Yeah, for that reason exactly. Like, we might get sniped on QB later.
And if something doesn't work with Lawrence and we get backed into Lance and Fields, it's like, shit, do we now got to take another quarterback late? Whereas Rodgers, like you said, if you take Rodgers and then whichever rookie fits whatever happens in this draft, we just take 2.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we also have A-Rob too, so we don't even have to prioritize Lawrence necessarily.
Yeah. Right. And Ayuk. So like whichever
and
one.
Ayuk. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Whoever fits now.
God, we're in a really fun spot.
This is
everything
another.
else was pretty flat there. I don't think we lost out much at other positions there.
I agree.
I'm not gonna. Never mind. I'm not gonna say him yet.
One thing
Rodgers was a wasted pick, guys. We blew it.
Oh shit.
Oh.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys next week. One thing I was gonna say is it's kind of like sometimes I think about it like you're kind of buying flexibility. Like Rodgers there, I think bought us more flexibility which could be a decent way to think through when it's time to take a detour.
Yep.
And again, huge discount at a point where now a bunch of quarterbacks are coming off the board.
We started the run. Yep.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to bite on him. And so he made sense for us to do it, and we got the value out of it. And then we started the run, and now nobody else is going to get value out of their quarterbacks.
Right.
This feels like a three RB build. That's a good comment.
Did Dylan go?
Yeah, he did go.
Dylan went. Yeah. I think Alhambra, who is going to continue to snipe us all night. I don't think Alhambra is going to take this guy, but I think Tunyon is kind of interesting with this team.
That's who I was going to bring up.
That could work.
Do you think he makes it back or no?
Yeah, I would kind of rather.
But who
I guess he's right there at ADP. Yeah. We could lock up the second quarterback. We could get Lance here.
I think we take Tunyon and see which one of the rookies falls.
Okay. All right, let's do that.
Yeah, I think we can wait. Because
that's so tough to take him over Fant, though. But I get it.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of just made our bet with Rodgers.
Yeah, he's a really good pick there. Rodgers has to throw a ton of TDs. He's a really good bet to be the.
Yeah, we need the
that's
50.
Tunyon's upside.
Yeah,
we need the touchdowns. Yeah.
Yeah, so get ready for Randall Cobb in the 13th, baby.
Oh boy!
I was hoping we'd get Tunyon in like the 11th. I didn't realize his ADP was this high now.
He was getting some good buzz. I think today they were talking about how his connection's been really, really strong with Rodgers. It is kind of wild because if you think about remember we thought it was going to be Jay Sternberger, and then it was kind of a mix of guys, and then Tunyon had to emerge over the course of the season, and now he just goes in as the guy.
Right.
So
there's potential. You said it perfect, and this is how I screwed it up. I was like, okay, this guy had a crazy outlier efficiency season. I'm gonna fade that. When in reality, like you brought it up on the pod with Leone, whatever, he's actually still undervalued, even if you regress the ever living shit out of him. And your point, I drafted Jay Sternberger last year, right? he had to emerge. So I kind of think he's a pretty good value.
Yeah, he's going right around where he finished in receptions and yards for the tight end position, not including the fact that he was a huge touchdown guy.
Yep.
This is perfect right here, though, by the way.
Who do you like?
Oh, I think I see it.
Who's this guy have? What's his team?
He's got the Dak to Lamb, Kelsey. Kind of similar build to ours, minus the elite tight end. He goes James Robinson. Who do you guys like?
It's Lawrence, right?
Lawrence.
I like Lawrence.
Yep.
I'm down.
Damn, this is a good team.
Yeah.
All right. Turn that QB button off.
There's no way to. It's permanently on.
Do you guys do that? That's literally how I draft. I click the other three buttons and don't look at the quarterbacks anymore.
So that's what you just draft 8 wide receivers in a row, and then you just click off that button, and then you go to the next.
I'm not
you get it
as well versed. You guys are talking about 2 extra rounds. Is that in this draft?
Yes, we're going 20 rounds.
Interesting. What are you guys thinking build wise here?
3 tight ends and load up some shitty running backs.
Yep.
Late.
How many? We need 2 more wide receivers.
We can, and there's some cheap ones we can build out with our stacks if we want.
Yeah,
that's true.
I mean, I think we can.
Diami Brown just went in the 11th.
Oh my god,
Jesus!
You should be able to get him at the very end.
Oh man,
right, 1 pick ahead of Nelson Aguilar.
Next time I do a big draft or a big dog draft, it will not be for content.
But when will it fill? I guess, do they have them slow? I guess that's the move. The guy who had 1 wide receiver, who was that?
The guy, that was Green, Lime Green. But then he started cranking it. Pittman, Rondell, Bateman.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, he's up to 3.
At least he's picking good ones.
Yeah, he's picking high upside guys at least.
Yeah.
Although he he got really sick of it and stopped.
Yeah, now he's going to be taking some interesting receivers the rest of the way.
I will say, not that his structure I like, but like the robust or hyper fragile or whatever in 20 rounds is probably pretty interesting because you can tap, you can get 12 wide receivers, which is like they're going to be really, really gross, right? But like, and it's 12 fucking wide receivers.
Yeah.
Like
this dude can be done at running back. He took 4 running backs in the first 6 rounds. If he's smart, he won't take another. And he's already got 2 QBs and 2 tight ends. He's probably just going to crank receiver the rest of the way.
That's what he should do.
Yeah, I'm glad that you guys made us draft Lawrence there. In the back of my head, I was starting to be like, can we play chicken with it a little bit? And we saw a run here, so I'm glad you guys made us do that. And we're going to continue to have nice running backs that we like to draft here.
Yeah, look,
I really wanted Zach Moss.
Yeah,
I really
Moss
wanted Zach Moss.
I was
Can you pull up wide receiver though, real quick? I just want to see who. Okay, never mind.
I don't see anything there either.
So, I like.
I kind of like Crowder, but Connor would. Or Gus. I'm with either.
Ben, do you have thoughts?
I think I would take Gus here with this build, but I don't mind Connor at all.
Quick,
Where are you?
Gus, do Gus.
Gus Bus, come on down.
So, I think we should talk about Gus just a little because everybody keeps saying, he has no contingent value. He has no contingent value, and like I agree mostly with that premise. But I do feel like we might be being a little bit lazy. Like I do think like Justice Hill or someone will step in and take, like he's not going to become, the 100% snap player. But I'm not so sure that we should be certain that he's not going to like take over like a pretty huge share of the rush. Now he's not going to catch passes, so like that's part of the equation. But I think it's conceivable that like Justice Hill just comes in and like spells Gus. If JK, because like Ingram did that before, like 2 years ago, Ingram like grew to be a workhorse in this offense, and so like I don't think it's out of the range of outcomes that Gus does have really serious contingent value. Like now, not like Dylan, not like Pollard, whatever, but I think I got lazy with it, and I think we all like as an industry might be a little lazy with like just writing off his contingent value.
Yeah, and there's different layers to that. It could be TDs. Sorry, Pat, go ahead.
Well, how much contingent value do you even need when he's going in the 12th round? Like, Ronald Jones last year was a hit. He missed a bunch of games with COVID and a broken pinky. He never, did get the contingent. He just locked up enough of the early down work for like a 4-week stretch and was like, he got like 3 or 4 straight 100-yard games. Like that's enough contingent value, I think, when you're talking about normally he's not going in the 12th round, but you're getting him. I got him in the 11th earlier. You can get him. We got him in the main event, coming back, I think, in the 10th round. So you're getting him at a pretty palatable price to where you don't need to be hitting a home run with the contingent value.
And there's some people asking, like, isn't Connor just Gus with pass catching? Probably. But the reason I liked Gus there is Connor might be dust. And I think Gus is like in his prime, more or less. Like he's younger, he's more in his prime. I don't. When he's only our 3rd running back, I want a guy that I think is definitely going to be on the field and efficient. And like Gus has looked really good. I'm comfortable with him.
Do you guys want to now start making the case for Connor? Now we need the pro.
Let's take Connor now.
Might be dust, but is a good 13th round pick.
You can't. He's undraftable. Oh wow, he made it back.
Yeah, the thing about Connor, people say he was done last year, but he had a pretty good elusive rating, and he was very good at pass blocking. I think he can take some of those pass blocking snaps. I don't know why people don't see the bull case for Connor. Disingenuous doubting.
I don't know how Team 6 let Connor slip past them in the 12th. I mean, this is a smash.
Oh my God, James Conner's younger? Did someone just blow my mind?
No.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He might be.
That's one of those Ian Hartitz tweets where he just like does the believable lie.
Dude, he got me so hard on that Drew Lock fucking roller skating video. I legitimately thought that was Drew Lock.
Connor's actually younger by like 100 days.
Wow.
He doesn't run like he's younger.
They're both 26. Yeah, Connor. I mean, there's mileage is mostly overrated, but there's something to be said about when a guy his efficiency starts to crater and starts going downhill. That's when you should kind of be out on running backs, basically.
I mean, the thing,
but he's in the 13th.
You're saying, Ben, like, and I think I agree, is like there is a legitimate, real question about what James Conner's role is. I think we just took him, so we see like there is a bull case, but like when we're deciding between those two guys, like Gus has a role. Mm-hmm. Like I have zero doubts about Gus is going to touch the ball and score fantasy points. It's like Conner could stand on the sideline and watch Chase Edmonds play. Conner could stand on the sideline and watch Eno Benjamin play for all we know. Like, so like, I think that just when you're deciding between those two guys, that's kind of the tiebreaker.
Yeah. And this is, again, we're getting these guys. I mean, James Conner, we got 25 picks after ADP at pick 150. He is a fucking uber smash at that in this build. And I do not care about anyone's specific player eval of James Conner in this context.
No, you're absolutely right. The only person who's not a smash that far behind ADP, as I learned the last time we did this, was Leonard Fournette, who went one pick after James Conner. Well, you're not allowed to take him even 24 picks after ADP.
You're not even allowed to mention him until he's already been drafted.
And it's the perfect texture for a zero RB room. You get the two massive, contingent value with Hunt. You get Etienne charging late, and then you're getting immediate production out of the gate from Gus and Conner, and both of them have chances to hold on as well. I love this zero RB room. All right, we're on the clock again here.
Cole Kmet.
God damn it, we're on the same page.
Okay, love it.
Let's do it. Keep stacking some. And
Bears. It gives us the Bears double.
Yeah. That's a happy pick there because he's one of my favorite kind of later round tight ends. It's actually interesting.
Yeah.
Irv is another one who went a couple picks before would have been really.
I know. I had my eye on Irv too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he would have given us a double with Jefferson.
And we would have had the week 17 monster game stack because we have Rodgers, Tunyon, Adams, Jefferson, Irv. It would have been really fun in week 17 if we could get there.
There's still something left to round that out. All right. Fun one. Another fun one.
Oh.
Who did they just
The ADP is weird because I swear I've seen Cobb go earlier in puppy drafts.
Yeah.
It's like now everyone took the foot off the gas with them, with the wide receivers, or at least the gap is narrowing a little bit.
That lime green guy, Marquez Callaway, Nico Collins, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Again, I don't necessarily hate some of the selections that he's making. He's kind of
some of them, but you can't have all your receivers be rookies.
Yeah,
I wrote this article saying you should draft more rookies. Don't do this. That's not what I meant.
I'm actually with Phil on this one. The more I keep staring at the ADPs in the applet, something feels different to me.
Huh. Well, these are the high rollers. Maybe they get their own ADP.
So they changed it. It rolled over tonight. CD's ADP is 26.
Okay.
Oh my god.
So
I mean that's how it's felt.
Update through. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to be on the clock here in a second. Curious what we're thinking here.
I think we all are thinking the same thing. It took me like a full round to put 2 and 2 together, but I'm on the same page now.
I definitely don't know what you're thinking. So,
are you talking about the running back that fits this game stack that we're talking about, or
that's what I was thinking you were saying?
I was talking about Alexander Madison.
Correct. Yes,
I'm good with that.
Because I mean, I know like structure whatever be damned, but like if you get to that game and Dalvin Cook is out, and you have Rodgers and that stack with Madison and Jefferson on the other side, I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
150,
and Cook's got recurring shoulder stuff. I mean, how are you guys going to spend your money? Because
if anything, I'm regretting the ET. I'd love to turn Etienne into Odell right now.
Yeah.
Really? No, I like Etienne. I think he gives us
Etienne's nice great player, but the values that we're getting on running backs right now, you'd easily flip Etienne to to Odell.
I think we could use a seventh receiver. Everything else is great, but a seventh receiver would be nice.
I kind of think you want Etienne because even as good as these running back values are, there's no Hunt maybe. There's no real league winner.
Yeah, that's
like the like Etienne's the first round. He's the 103 next year. Like none of these other guys are that, and he is. So I kind of like Etienne.
Yeah, I see it. I guess it is.
Oh my god,
we're gonna
Pringle was gonna be my super late option for us. Olamide Zacchaeus. This is jeez.
He had a good buzz today too. He was
Zacchaeus did.
Zacchaeus, yeah.
Those are fun, like 18th round, 20th round picks. We're in the middle of the 15th round. We just took Alex.
I don't know if you guys know what round it is. Yeah, man. Yeah, part of me feels like I'm of two minds because it would be nice to get a pass catching running back here, to kind of help. Like, it feels like that this build could use that. On the other hand, there's almost no wide receivers left at all. So it might be
I have one that I'm going to toss out.
I think Etienne and Edwards kind of fill that requirement of the pass. Like they're going to have solid floors.
Hunt as well. Yeah.
Etienne is a pass catcher. Yeah. And Hunt, our top two.
Yeah, you're right.
Running backs kind of already are that.
Yeah. Let's not get locked out of receiver while there's still.
Yeah.
I think, receivers.
And we'll be able to take some flyers.
Will you click over a receiver just not to name a bunch of names, but just to look around?
Okay. Yeah. There's guys.
I like some guys here.
You meant scrolling down just a little.
There's definitely human beings on this list.
Yeah, these are real human beings.
Yeah, I click them at 18. I click them at 1808 usually, not 16. But
once you hit DD Westbrook, for a second when you were like, "There's a fun name," I was like, "Does he mean DD Westbrook?"
I was trying to remember who their third receiver was. They picked up. I knew they picked someone up.
I was IDing Rodgers there.
Oh, Amari.
Yeah, he would have been a good one.
Amir Smith-Marset.
Yeah, Amari would have been.
I take a decent amount of Cephas when it gets this.
God, Evan just went off. I mean, we can always start rapping Mims again.
You gotta, please God no. You gotta unclick. You gotta unclick running back because we can't see any wide receivers when you click running back.
Fulgham.
I'm down with Slayton too. Like
Cephas, Fulgham, Slayton, all of them. I like all those guys.
Let's do Slayton just because I think we might be able to get a couple of those other guys later. Probably
we're gonna get sniped real hard on them.
The funny thing is I look at all these names and I kind of like a lot of them, and I'm like, oh, that's because I randomly take each one of those guys in an 18th round every now and again.
Slayton is undervalued, guys. Like, especially Golladay, the hamstring's already acting up. Like, that dude has not been the picture of health.
That's a good point.
And he's gonna play in 3 wide receiver sets. Like, I think Tony is gonna be more of a gadget player. Like, Slayton's been good so far in his career.
I agree with you. I think he'll be in 3 wide receiver sets.
Yeah.
Tony forgot to bring his cleats to the first practice or whatever it was.
Yeah. Tony has not been a model citizen. The other thing is that Shepard is best out of the slot. So, I think Tony's going to have a harder time cracking because, moving Shepard inside actually makes him better. So then he has to compete. He's not going to beat Slayton out on the outside. Tony's a kind of a gadget slot guy himself. So I don't think Tony's going to see a ton of the field.
You guys just be very careful about saying names because then Cephas and Fulgham both go right after we talk. I was even going to toss out Donovan Peoples-Jones, but we're at that point.
And I was going to toss out Anthony Miller. So all the guys that
I do love that Denzel Mims is still here. That's just been a rough couple months for Denzel Mims.
I'll also throw out here. Hooper is definitely a tier break at tight end if we want to go 3 tight ends.
Otherwise, I'm going to start touting Zach Ertz again. So let's go Hooper.
Yeah.
Jamal Williams was here at running back. I don't know if he's still here, but that's kind of insane.
That is kind of insane. I know there's only 15 seconds. But Swift did get dinged up today, and so there's a non-zero chance that
Singletary is insane too.
Yeah. You guys,
but now we got our 6th. I'm Jamal.
I like Jamal. I kind of like Jamal.
Okay.
So the only reason on Hooper is Hooper has a higher floor, but there are some of those what Leone calls them efficiency guys, like Mo Alley Cox, like OJ Howard, right? Like some of those guys. Zach Ertz is quite literally the opposite of an efficiency guy. But I mean, what really is the difference between Ertz and Hooper, if we're being totally honest,
right?
And so I just would, if we like Jamal, I would probably just lean him over Hooper.
Yeah. Yep. I agree there, and we can take a late stab at an upside tight end if we want. We got 3 more rounds of picks here with a 2-6-7-2 build.
I think probably 2 receivers and a tight end, right? Is that what you guys are thinking?
Yeah, that's what we're. Yeah.
There goes Damian.
That's actually, man, the running backs are, I mean, like, let's look at after the ADP. I mean, Jamal Williams, almost a full 50 picks after ADP.
Holy shit. That is insane.
Rudman's going to flag this draft for some kind of like collusion. Oh no, don't do it, Sam. That's David Kitchen smashing the retweet button on that. Did you guys see that on the Swolecast, Pat?
No.
We were doing a puppy draft, and Kitchen was saying how he was parroting back us saying that you want to get unique with your late round pick. And so then Kitchen took N'Keal Harry with his last pick.
I did see you tweet the one where Kitchen took N'Keal Harry.
Yeah.
So I knew it went down, but I haven't seen it
yet. Not to spoil it, but there's some good comments in the chat about another late round tight end.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm back in on that boat, dude. If he
it took one beat report.
That's all I needed. Yeah. Did you watch the XFL?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Are there any wide receivers left? I thought that said Alshon Jeffrey. I thought someone took Alshon Jeffrey, and I was like, I guess there aren't.
I guess we're done.
Did you see that today? That Fulgham was the reason he was pissed last season and got in the doghouse and like basically ruined his chance to continue playing was because they played Alshon Jeffrey over him and he did not handle it well. But I was like, okay, that like makes sense. Like I get it now. Like I would have been really pissed too. Like they were talking about cutting Alshon before the season and he was totally done. God, there's no one here.
I think it's Parham.
I want Colin Johnson. What do you guys think?
Yeah, let's do that. I love that. Great call.
Yep.
He was one of the guys I was hoping would not get pushed up during this crazy run.
That was a great call. He's like I would feel comfortable with him in the 18th round, like in a normal draft if I had Lawrence.
I take him, anytime I have Lawrence in the 18th. Yeah. Because I don't know. I have a hard time pulling the trigger on Marvin Jones. It's just so hard for me.
Yeah, well, Colin Johnson also kind of a big guy. Could catch some touchdowns.
I would rather take Marvin than Chark.
Ooh.
At ADP. At ADP.
That's fair. I mean, Chark's another guy that I haven't been taking basically at all. It hurts though. 2 more picks here.
How many what do we 2, 6, 8, 2? Yeah. So one thing I'll say, I wouldn't be tied necessarily to position like the rest of this way. Like, let's be honest, it's a 19th and a 20th round pick. Like, if there's a running back we really love, like just take the fucking running back.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter.
I also think like I don't even mind Taysom Hill either, honestly. If we wanted to,
think we probably want a tight end. If there's anybody.
Can we
there's
that
guy.
Can we take Parham?
Yeah, let's take Parham.
I mean, dude, they don't like Mike Williams has never been a big target guy. There's available opportunity. If he's actually going to play, he's got upside.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, what's his face? I can't even remember his name. Palmer is not good at football. Whoever thinks he's good, you're wrong. Sorry.
Josh Palmer, the wide receiver, is that who you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. This is why I want to be in the big dog so I can see Zach Pascal getting drafted. Pat Hellmuth goes. I mean, now this is how we feel alive, boys.
Pat Hellmuth. Who is left? Like, if we're gonna go best player available here, who are we even looking at?
I mean, quarterbacks and running backs.
Did Mims never go? Is he still sitting around?
He's still sitting around.
Mims not going into 21. He like led the league in air yards last year, and no one's gonna draft him.
Prayer.
Oh my god.
That feels like a bit of an overreaction.
So
I hope he goes because you guys don't want to take him. But if he doesn't go,
No, I'll take Denzel Mims.
So I would make a case. I will say, depends on how these last picks for maybe one of these running backs.
Right.
Only because at this point in the draft, like I guess if you guys want to really argue for Mims, you know, Chuba, if CMC goes down, you have a league winner, right? And like I don't really care about positions at this point. Like I just want a dude who could like actually, help you win your league.
I'm in on that.
Yeah, I'm good with Chuba. I don't know that there's anybody else.
Is Pirine? What about Pirine, Josh Kelly?
Yeah, I think Pirine fits that mold too.
That's about it.
Booker maybe does a little bit.
A little.
Yeah.
Nah, but I don't like Booker on this. I want someone that can just like smash week 17.
Right. Yeah.
There goes Chuba.
And Mims.
I don't mind P. Ryan.
Yeah, put him in the field.
Pirine would be the only running back left, I think, that fits.
But I think ideally we want to go receiver. Like, is there?
Yeah, ideally. Is there anything?
Renfro's fine. I mean, not good, but Deontay Harris.
Tutu. James Washington. Davis did make a relatively fair point that like James Washington and Colin Johnson are kind of like the same archetype of a fourth wide receiver with the little upside.
Yeah, but Washington's on the way down. He's getting past that. He needs an injury work.
Smith Marset.
No, I don't think he's going to get much.
Kiki Cutie has always earned targets, and I mean, who's going to catch passes for that? I mean, I know Anthony Miller's there now, but
Renfro's a full-time player.
Yeah,
He gets in the end zone a couple times. They might
Kiki Cutie.
Everyone in the chat, give your suggestion on your 18th. Oh, you guys already did that. Okay. Kendrick Bourne, Cedric Wilson, Cam Sims, Josh Gordon, Deontay Harris.
Cedric Wilson's good, but like Noah Brown, they played him too. And then they drafted Simi Fehoko.
You could do Daz Newsome as a Bears bet. Could be their slot wide receiver.
What about Marquise Goodwin? Did he go?
Looks like he's gone.
No, he's here. I love that.
Yeah, let's
we got the Bears bet. What do you guys think?
Sure. Is he playing?
Yeah. He's flashing.
He might be
camp. Don't you
get that 2 hours ago?
I mean, he literally was a world-class sprinter, so I would hope that if he's doing something, he's flashing some speed.
Yeah, Tim and Demir Bird are going to be they're rotating burners.
Oh wow, Weiss wants us to watch this pick and then takes Jacob Eason. We're watching, buddy.
Ooh.
We're watching.
It sounds like it might be Ellinger there. They're all getting excited about Ellinger now.
I mean, it also sounds like Wentz might play week 1. He said the timeline's
He's gonna play.
He's literally gonna play week 1. The timeline's like rest 2 weeks, rehab for 2 weeks, and we'll see where he's at. And I mean, I think he's only gonna miss like a couple weeks if he misses anything.
Did Wentz go? Did he get drafted?
Did Demir Bird get drafted? I would think Bird over Goodwin too. To this comment,
I think Goodwin has the upside though.
Yeah,
okay.
Bird's run a lot of routes over the last couple of years.
He is Chris Hogan.
With him. Yeah, he's Chris Hogan.
All right, guys.
He's in great shape.
Let's exhale. We made it through that 20-round gauntlet.
Yeah, that was intense.
I was like, holy shit, these first few rounds, are we really doing a ship chasing draft again? And then I felt very good about how that played out after about the 6th round.
I am more comfortable in this room than in the regular rooms. Like that's where it's fun. I am, because I know where the pockets are better in this. Like I know that I just have to like go crazy hard, just like not look to the side, and then it starts to let up around round 5, round 6 is where you can first kind of take your first detour.
Yeah.
I think we did incredibly well, personally.
We never got caught in that trap of having to reach 3 rounds for a bad wide receiver. We avoided that entirely.
And that's the goal. That's what you have to do when you get in these rooms, right? And I guess like that's Pat's point is like we've done this so many times that some people would be like, the first 3 rounds are fine, right? Everybody probably feels comfortable with Devontae, Jefferson, and A-Rob. And then you get to, oh my God, am I really going to take Ayuk mid 4? And then you take whatever running back, right? Then you take Dobbins. And then you get to round 5 and you're like, okay, then Miles Sanders is still available and take Miles Sanders. And and then like you said, then you fall behind and like it's over for you in round 6.
Yeah.
Especially if Juju would have went at a reasonable spot, like round 7. We should not have gotten Juju in round 7.
No.
There would have been.
Yeah, that was pretty wild that we got that to fall to us there. Because there's not really a ton after that. I mean, then you're looking at Waddle, Brown. Those guys aren't really values there. They're not terrible picks there, but
Landry, I think, is kind of interesting in that spot as well. Like pretty late.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm gonna go pour a drink.
I know, that's what I feel like. I need something to drink.
No,
West Coast Gem wants us to. We can sauce a couple of these teams. I see a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a beer too.
Yeah, drink break.
Yeah, we're gonna take a break. This is what we're gonna do while I'm gone. We'll come back and we'll sauce some teams.
Sure, you think you want Ship Chasing to review your team.
How much sauce would you like on your team reviews?
Oh, I love this.
You asked for the sauce.
He wants it extra saucy.
You think you want it spicy.
He wants 13.
Oh, boy.
But then you realize you can't handle the heat.
Fuck this guy. Do we have to review his team?
Hey.
Why did you take Moel and Cox? What are you doing?
So fucking cute with his 0 RB. Evan, you will speak when you are spoken to. Fuck off, Chris. Awful team.
Ship Chasing team reviews are getting spicy this summer. Come get the sauce.
2. He wanted a 2.
You can't handle the sauce.
Where did everybody go?
I'm here. I'm busting out a little thank you to Curtis Patrick, who sent me this as part of a Dynasty League kind of like gift basket. And haven't cracked it yet. Some Jefferson's Wood Experiment whiskey. So thank you to Curtis.
Is that what I commissioned a Dynasty League? Are all the people in my league, are they expecting me to send them a whiskey? Is that what people expect now?
Yeah, they just quietly think you're a dick now.
Quiet. I don't know if it's even quietly.
They've
Yeah,
for
well.
a long time. All right. Let's see here. We'll get up this board. If you want to get sauced, we can sauce some teams here. So West Coast Gem in the chat out of the one hole. Christian McCaffrey, McLaurin, Waller, Robbie Gallup, Sermon, Mike Davis in the 7th, Herbert and Hurts, Gabe the Babe, as Kitchen called him today. I'll never forget that. Tony Pollard, Christian Kirk, MVS, Demarcus Robinson, Hamler, Gainwell, Ebron, Arnold, Guyton, Patrick. Man, I bet he never thought he would be taking Terry McLaurin at 212.
Can I see? Can you go to like his actual team and the?
Yeah, let me try to go to that
this
view.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, one sec. Here we go. So it's a 2-5-10-3. Definitely did a good job of taking his feet off the gas at running back. The question is, was there enough wide receiver firepower to make up for it? Gabe Davis is your 4th wide receiver is not ideal.
It was the Gallup thing. Like Pat mentioned the Gallup thing. Like you got pressed into Gallup and then you took your foot up. Like once you saw, oh shit, I have to take Michael Gallup at 501. You can't take your foot off the gas at wide receiver, even though it feels uncomfortable to continue to reach on guys. Like you're about to get buried even with CMC.
Right. What did he do after Gallup? Like, what was his 6th round pick?
Pat's favorite wind sprint guy, Jalen Guyton, though. He's going to save the day. he can win sprints.
That's another Demir Bird. Same exact mold.
Yeah.
He did the Sermon Davis, and both of those guys, the Sermon pick is rough in this room, taking him 9 picks ahead of ADP when then, he got Hunt.
You can't take no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the spot.
If he flipped Sermon and Mike Davis for wide receivers.
Who was available then?
And also went Hurts and Herbert back to back, before the, I think some of the other, you can't do that in those back to back turns.
No.
That's where your receiver issues came in.
Yeah, because he almost got back on track, like with the Michael Gallup pick. even though it's a big reach. I think he kind of saved it, and then 4 straight picks away from wide receiver makes it really tough after that.
Oh no, he's blaming the Mike Davis pick on Leone.
Oh,
Oh,
no, that
Leone,
makes sense. That makes sense.
look what you've done to these people.
They like Sermon too. ETR likes
Yeah, they do.
Sermon
Yeah.
too.
And that, again, I think it's none of these, picks or whatever. It's not like we hate Mike Davis. It's just in this room and reacting to what was happening, you found yourself in a really bad spot.
No, we hate Mike Davis. What are you talking about?
I fucking hate Mike Davis.
Yeah.
He seems like a really nice guy, honestly.
Yeah, he seems like a great dude. Love to have a beer with him sometime.
Did you see the photo of him taking his daughter to school? He was really excited about that. It seems like a great
he's
dude.
Yeah,
class
his
act.
quads look great in that picture.
You
I
guys break
didn't
up.
actually see the picture.
Phil, he lit $250 on fire to be in a draft with us. I mean, how much more do you want me to sauce
Yeah.
him?
We're going
All
easy.
Who else wants to be sauced?
Can we do the team that didn't take a wide receiver till like round 9
Yes.
or whatever it was?
I think he's in. He popped into the chat. I saw him down here somewhere. Here he is, Theo. Lime Green Energy here. You guys sniped my early wide receiver, so I went fully YOLO.
I
Sure did,
respect
buddy.
it.
So this team here, a 3-5-9-3. Love the running backs.
I'm worried about the receivers.
Consider taking receivers earlier in the draft.
No, I seriously love your running backs. I think you're very strong.
Great
there.
depth at running back. Great depth.
I don't love having Marquez Callaway as my 4th wide receiver, but I love the running backs.
I mean, Jacob Harrett, you drafted a tight end as a wide receiver at the end because you ran out of wide receiver options.
This looks
Yeah.
like a dynasty team that went 2-14 last year.
That was good saucing.
That is some spicy sauce.
That was muy caliente.
But why take Rashad Penny and why take even Javonte Williams there? I mean, I
Yeah.
know that there weren't really any wide receivers left, but like take the Michael Gallup 501 plunge or whatever. Like, you have CEH and Swift and Zeke, was it? Whoever the first guy was. You don't need to take Javonte there.
I mean, and
Actually-
the thing is, I would say that good player selection at receiver, but to Pat's point, you can't have all rookies. Like, if this actually had a headliner or two at the top, this would be fine. It would be kind of a way to survive this room. But
Yeah.
like Michael Pittman can't be a wide receiver 1. That's just
Even if you did that and made Michael Pittman your wide receiver 1, like I don't think that that's feasible. But like to totally go against the room, I actually think is at least remotely interesting. But you cannot take Darnold, you cannot take Penny, and you cannot take Phil Hellmuth. Like you have to, like you just have to. You have committed to this absurd, 14 wide receiver build.
You
and,
need
like,
Tutu Atwell on this team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
You
You
need
got to
to
take
have-
all
yeah.
the. You got to keep taking all those dudes. So like, I actually think he was like kind of close to like a really interesting team.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if it's good, but it was at least an interesting take on this room. But you fucked it up bad.
Sean,
You were so close to being interesting.
I don't think Sean's application is going to get into ship chasing you. It's half PPR. You got to start running backs in the flex. Sean, we got a long way to go with you, buddy. We'll get there though. Who wants to? Everyone said they wanted to get sauce. I think our friend Jonathan wanted to get sauce from the 12 hole here. I mean, I know where I want to go with the sauce. The Ruggs pick was, I understand in the room, but man, Ruggs at pick 84. I guess it's not even that crazy relative to his ADP. Let's check this out though. Stafford, Ryan Wilson, Jones, Hendo, Drake, Gio, Chuba, Larry Roundtree, Ridley, Chase, Lockett, Judy, Ruggs, Mooney, Tyrell, Djax, Tyron, Higbee, Everett. Who wants to say mean things about our friend Jonathan's team?
Can't middle. He middled. You're buried. It's over.
I don't know that he did middle. I'll actually defend this team because he took Chuba and Roundtree at the very, very, very end. So in some ways, this is a fragile build. And we know that the wide receivers at that point were completely dried up. So it looks like a 6 running back build, but it's really closer to the 4 running back build with 9 actual wide receivers. Like Tyron Johnson is a real, actual wide receiver pick.
I was gonna say Tyron Johnson's a pretty interesting. I mean, to the point about Parham, like he's the guy that I think could actually be interesting for them. He's a good last receiver to have.
Yeah. So I think it's basically a 2-4-9-2 with a couple extra running back flyers. I don't know if we're supposed to be mean, but I actually kind of like this team.
Yeah,
I kind of do too.
I like it too. I'm with Erik though. I'd want I think 11 wide receivers in this build still.
Ideally.
I will say I'm still a little thrown off when you see the names and you're so used to different drafts and different ADPs. Like you see Jones, Henderson, Drake, Gio, and like you forget, okay, Drake went 20 picks after ADP. So it's like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense, you know. To your point, what do you guys think about like when you take staff? I know there's 20 rounds. I think people fall in love with, I don't know who else to take. I'm just going to throw Zach Wilson onto this team. I don't know who else to take. I'm going to throw a tight end on when like, no, you need to take a wide receiver with that guy or with that pick.
Yeah. And it gets tough. And he did stack up. He's got Stafford with G-Jax and Higbee. I know I've mentioned him 2 times now, once as a joke, but once I do think you take Tutu Atwell on this team. I'd rather have him instead of Roundtree as my flyer, because then you're getting with Stafford, I think, some nice correlation.
I agree with you. I wouldn't have taken 2 of those running back guys. And I think the pick you want back in this is Darrell Henderson. Took him 11 picks ahead of ADP. I know maybe that's driven somewhat by Best Ball Mania, but I think just watching it happen, I believe that he took him in the end of the 5th round.
Yeah, right after it's Etienne.
Yeah, I think with Aaron Jones, I wouldn't have done that. I would have pushed that, gotten another wide receiver there.
But it's an interesting
and just being the running back value.
We should talk about Henderson though a little bit, because like I mean, pick 60 is egregious for him. So like I'm not going to bash him for a detour onto Henderson, because like, you know, say whatever we want about exactly where he should go. Pick 60 is absolute. I mean, that's absurd. Cam Akers was going at the 1-2 turn and had Darrell Henderson backing him up. Now Darrell Henderson has Xavier Jones and Jake Funk and some scrub they sign off the scrap heap at cut time. And like we could have made a serious argument between Etienne and Henderson about who we should have taken where we were.
That's true, but you're in this insane wide receiver room, so taking him at 60 normally.
You just mean taking a running back there when you've already anchored with Aaron Jones. And
you're protected at running back. You know you're in this crazy wide receiver room by this point. That's probably like if I would have this team, I'd probably sub out Henderson for the wide receiver. I could have gotten there.
You guys,
but I will agree with Erik. When I first heard the Akers news, I thought Henderson was a clear 3rd round pick with potential for 2nd round.
Too.
Yeah,
me too.
I mean,
that was my initial reaction.
He's way being misvalued in my opinion. McVay has leaned towards workhorses. Even when when Akers wasn't healthy early last year, he did it with Henderson. They've scored a ton of running back touchdowns over the last several years. Akers did late in the year when he was in the workhorse role. Obviously, Gurley was dominant there. Like the way they run their offense, they're going to spread it out and then use the running back against lighter boxes. And they make that work in the green zone. Henderson, if he actually plays enough, everyone's convinced that he won't, but if he actually plays enough, could literally be a top 5 running back. I don't understand why he's going this late. It's crazy.
All right. I tried to sauce it with the Henderson, and now you guys like the Henderson. So overall, we just really like this team.
No, I want to go back on it because I think Henderson is the perfect pick to illustrate as a pure player selection right here. I think it's a great pick. Yeah. But in the context of this draft room, I think it's a very bad pick because of how we saw the room running. And we've talked about this in the crazy puppy drafts earlier, that the running back is always going to look like the best value on the board throughout a ton of rounds. And the opportunity cost of taking Darrell Henderson over the Visca Judys that are there versus grabbing, whoever we took, Alexander Madison, Gus Edwards, James Conner, who are the wide receivers we were debating? It's like Randall Cobb there. Like those 2v2s look so bad in retrospect, and you can only do that with the knowledge of how this room is going to shake out.
Or if you decide Henderson is such a good value, I have to have him, which I won't even necessarily argue with you if that is your stance, right? Henderson at pick 60 is too good to pass up. Now you have to structure the rest of your team around that fact. And you did not do that. I understand Kenyon Drake was a good value, whatever. This was XYZ was a good value. you have Aaron Jones and Darrell Henderson. And if Henderson actually is such a good value, you like don't even need to worry about running back ever again because you have Aaron Jones and Darrell Henderson. So structure your team accordingly. So it was like, to your point, Pete, he either needs to pass on Henderson because you need to read the room better, or if you really believe that this guy is such a good pick, now you need to change the rest of the structure of your team. So you went wrong in one of the two directions.
We have Dwice wants the sauce bad. He's screaming for it. You took Jacob Eason.
Now my dogs are scared. Are you?
I thought that was Dwice. Dwice is breaking in. Sauce me.
Holy cow! There's wolves.
They are wolves, dude. This is every night. It's nuts.
Oh my god.
All right, Dak Fitzpatrick and a man who just got drafted for his first time ever on Underdog Fantasy, Jacob Eason, Chris Carson, Chase Edmonds, James Robinson, Melvin Gordon, Xavier Jones. Nice lean and tight running back room.
I think the Eason pick, he must have been playing to all this Husky paraphernalia.
Oh, there you go. There it is. He did it for Gretsch. CD, Keenan, Thielen, Samuel, Moore, Campbell, Hilton, Lazard, Cephas, Cole, and then had Kelsey, who he just paired up with Mo Alley Cox. I like this team structurally.
Yeah, I think it's a good team.
He has like players that I don't like, but the structure I think is right for where he took these guys.
He got them all late though. Like Chris Carson, he got at pick 53, Chase Edmonds 101, James Robinson 125. Melvin Gordon 140. Like those are all way after ADP, so I can't fault any of that. Kind of stayed with the room or a little ahead of it on wide receiver. I like going Mo Alley when you have Kelsey. Went 3 quarterback, but obviously crazy cheap on Eason, which might have been a bit. So,
I mean, other than Xavier Jones, if any of these running backs do well, I'm going to lose a lot of money. Like if this running back room is good, I mean, I don't really mind Chase Edmonds, but James Robinson, Melvin Gordon, and Chris Carson does not inspire confidence in me.
I've taken James Robinson in like around this range. I've taken him in the 10th or 11th. That's where
the value is fine. I mean, Carson at 53 is like, I get it.
Yeah, my only other, nitpick, I would like to see maybe just a little bit more stacking with Dak and Fitzpatrick. Throw on the Cedric Wilson, throw on the Humphreys. I don't know if Dalton Schultz was available super late. I feel like he would have paired nicely with this one. That would be my only other comment.
How big is this tournament? Like how important is it to really have the stacking here?
He took Hilton and Paris Campbell. He set up the Jacob Eason stack a long time before.
Jesus.
It's 2,300.
Okay.
What I'll say, pulling from my small field DFS focus, is I think we actually want to stack a little bit more in this than we want to in like the Best Ball Mania 2. You know, so like a Millie Maker. It's not that you don't want to stack in the Millie Maker. It's that you got to hit the absolutes. You almost have to hit the optimal. Right. You kind of
probably isn't a triple stack,
which is not right. Which is not a triple stack. Like especially like I use this example all the time with like Trey. Like Trey Lance is my favorite quarterback, so like I know his value is largely in his legs. I don't want to have all 3 Niners guys and a Niners running back or whatever. I probably just want to have like Trey Lance and Brandon Ayuk. Like that's it, because that's like going to be optimal. Whereas in this, you don't really need to hit the stone nuts. So you want to like get as few things right as have to get as few things right as possible. So I actually kind of like like
Leone's,
what we did.
Yeah, Leone's made the same point. Another very sharp DFS person, and so now I definitely agree. Like I mean, hearing it from Eric, it's a little easier to agree with. I mean, I think we can all agree. Like Eric,
because he used like Brandon Ayuk instead of like
whatever
like
Leone was saying,
whatever old dusty guys he wants to draft.
Yeah, it's almost like in this you are playing a few Thunderdomes, right? That's what you kind of have each week. And I was just listening to Leone talk with Blender about that same concept. Leone talked about that a lot last year. I know Eric plays those short small tournaments too, and the overstacking is really nice in those. Overall like this team. Someone else, I think Do Me Favors was begging for the sauce here. 3-4-10-3 build, Brady, Carr, Roethlisberger, very hyper fragile team here. Dalvin, Chubb, Mixon, Montgomery at tight end, Fant, Gronk, Jonnu, and then Deontay, Claypool, AB, Corey Davis, Marvin Jones, John Brown, Sterling Shepard, Josh Reynolds, Pascal, and Adam Humphries. Again, did the structure right for sure with where he took those running backs. I mean, in this room, I still think you save that Montgomery pick for like grab Alexander Madison at pick 190 or whatever as your fourth running back and get a better, wide receiver 4 or 5 in there. But I like this structure.
You definitely grab Madison because on ship chasing we handcuff our RB1s.
I completely forgot right. Mike Cook. Bad example.
Yeah. I think maybe I don't know. Did you know the room you were in? Do me favors. I recognize the name, so I think maybe you did. I don't think you can do the Chubb Mixon thing. I think immediately there, you're looking at something gross like Corey Davis is your wide receiver 4, which I don't think is good enough. And I definitely don't think – I know Montgomery was a major value at that point, but I still think you're so behind.
If you do Chubb Mixon, you do Deontay Claypool at the next turn. That makes some
Paul's
sense.
Right here. Yeah, I know the room.
You've set that up. But then after that, you go Antonio Brown and David Montgomery. When Juju was still on the board as well, I mean, I know you probably didn't want to get 3 pit receivers, but I thought Antonio Brown went too high here. With David Montgomery, that's the turn where you just screwed the pitch.
I love this dynamic, though, overall, where we break ADP and then yell at people for not knowing we were going to do it.
Paul's good at this. Paul's good at this. He did a pretty good job. I think he would probably even tell you, he's saying in chat, I couldn't resist Montgomery, and he probably knows he should have taken Juju over Montgomery, and then it probably would have made this team pretty good, actually. I know he had Deontay and Claypool, but ignoring the Pittsburgh thing, he probably would have made this team pretty good. The only thing that I would say is you called this team hyper fragile, and I thought you were going to say it was because of the 3 quarterbacks that you took.
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying it over and over, but that's the one comment when we sauce these teams and well, I couldn't resist that running back. It's no, that's the fucking point. Over and over, the running backs are going to fall in ADP in these draft rooms, and you have to resist it because that's going to happen with every single pick.
Devin Singletary went in the 17th round. He would be a better fourth running back for this team than David Montgomery.
Singletary's a perfect swap on Montgomery right
there. Yeah,
yep.
100%.
All right, let's see who else wanted it. A couple other people wanted it. I think I saw Cootie wanted it in here. 2-6-10-2, Mahomes and Daniel Jones, Henry, JT, Sanders, Zach Moss, Ty Johnson, and Coleman, the school of handcuffing that backfield there. Amari, Mike Dubb, Marquise Brown, MT, Cole Beasley, Aguilar, Watkins, Pringle, Palmer, Cootie, Goddard, and Irv Smith. Where do we start?
We have a better team than all these guys. That's what I've learned from this sauce is that none of these guys could resist the running backs, and I feel so much better having looked at all their teams about what we drafted.
It's the same thing with the Montgomery, right? You see Miles Sanders here going 7 picks ADP. You go, oh, my great fortune. Well, you can get Zach Moss, 25 picks past ADP, just swap Miles Sanders for a wide receiver, and then this team starts to look a lot
right.
better.
And you already started Henry and Taylor. You can't take Miles Sanders when you started Henry and Taylor in this room.
I already wouldn't be doing that. I wouldn't be doing that if I wasn't in this room.
Yep.
You've committed to 2 workhorse, early down type backs. Obviously with Taylor, we hope that there's upside with the receiving, but that Miles Sanders pick is just glaring.
Well, see, and I'll push back and I'll say I don't care if you start Henry, JT, and Sanders. Then just go. You grab Tevin Coleman as your 4th running back, and then you turn Sanders, Moss, and Ty Johnson all into wide receivers.
You said
you can do that,
including Sanders.
Although
Moss and Ty Johnson.
Ty Johnson and Coleman, I'm sort of erasing a little bit because those are the 19th and 20th rounders that we know what was there.
That's pretty good value on Tevin Coleman. 166 ADP at pick 224.
Also, props for taking Ty Johnson first. That's gonna win a little bit of loyalty from me.
Tevin Coleman was going in the 8th round after he signed. He's going 224.
60 picks after ADP.
There's two mistakes. Taking Miles Sanders is the first mistake, but you can then recover from that with the structure. And I think you just compound the mistake by then adding what I would say is 2 extra unnecessary running backs once you take Sanders.
Yeah.
Mahomes, no premium, I guess. So just a single stack with Pringle. I also do not like taking Mahomes ahead of ADP unless I at least have Kelsey or Hill. Without it, I don't see how you justify that pick.
I'm still a little thrown off that people are saying. I think this is like a big dog ADP because Mahomes ADP is earlier than 46 normally. But to your point, somebody posted that Pat, you were Pete. You might have been tagged in it too. I don't know who was tagged in it. Somebody posted earlier today. They had a CMC team and they got Mahomes at the 5. They like at the 4 or 5 turn basically, and they were like, I couldn't pass on the value, and like I get that. Mostly, but it's also like if you don't have Tyreek and you don't have Kelsey and then you don't get Hardman, what is the point of Mahomes? And so that's what happened with this team. It's like you don't have Tyreek, you don't have Kelsey, you didn't get Hardman. Like if Mahomes goes off, you're really not even getting the benefits of that.
Unless Pringle is what we think Hardman is.
Is Tyreek, yeah.
It does sound like the
God. If you needed Mahomes Pringle this year, like I might be done. Like I'm not. I don't have that stack.
Davis is going to win all the money, and I'm going to hang
Davis
myself.
win all the money.
You guys are fucking donks, dude. I've been drafting a Chief in every one of my drafts.
18th round Pringle, easy game.
You fish for taking dead legs, Jerick McKinnon. I was stacking Cornell Powell. Fuck off.
You sound like Cartman and Bill Simmons. It's like you sound like Cousin Sal doing Bill Simmons plus Cartman.
And I know Davis is going to listen to this on the elliptical tomorrow morning, and it's going to be bad.
He tried to confirm today he doesn't do the elliptical. He only does the Stairmaster, and I don't think anybody's buying that.
Dude, I was fucking doing kettlebell swings today, so just fuck.
It's like 6:15 in the morning. He's angrily swinging a kettlebell. Assholes! Byron Pringle's gonna smash.
Okay. Someone else, Alejandro wanted it. He wanted the sauce. He was sniping us all night.
All night.
Tannehill, Tua, and Taysom.
He took Leonard Fournette.
I mean, 25 picks after ADP. He took Darrington Evans, Devin Singletary, got AJ Brown, Odell, Cortland Sutton, Waddle, Parker, Diami, Olamide, Hodgins, Pitts, Ferkser, and Dawson Knox. Here, what do we think?
I love the Isaiah Hodgins love. Talk about playing to the crowd. Like,
and he took Evans, he took Darrington Evans, he took AJ Brown, he took DJ Moore, he took Isaiah Hodgins.
Yeah, Hodgins is a real. I see what you're doing. What's the quarterback situation again?
This is literally just a setup for when we sauced him. This is a pure setup. He just wanted a soft sauce.
He also took Fournette. He took Fournette. He
did get two.
He probably watched us bash Fournette and not take Fournette at like pick 180 like a month ago or whatever, and he still took Fournette. So he didn't play to the crowd that much.
Yeah.
But he knew the room. He just sat back and was like, Fournette running back 3. This is going to be easy.
Can I just make a broad sauce on the entire room? In this room where everyone went wide receiver heavy, Devin Singletary is not the running back that should have went 44 picks after ADP. Like that guy actually should be in a lot of these builds. What the hell were you all doing? That's insane.
Why people dislike Devin Singletary so much.
He's going to play.
Yeah. My only other take would be, I feel like he had a luxury pick to play with here as either a third QB or a third tight end with Tannehill and Tua and Pitts and Ferkser, but I would not have gone 3 each. I want the extra wide receiver on the end there.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. People can't help themselves with like, I got these extra picks. What do I do? I'm going to toss them on to quarterback when like actually you should toss them onto the positions that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the tight end one is the quarterback one I can get a little bit more on board with. Really, I think the quarterback you're more likely to get a week out of Taysom than
he took Pitts. He took Pitts, so I would not take Dawson Knox. But if you took if you want to punt tight end and you want to take 3, that's totally fine. But like, I wouldn't take Taysom I wouldn't take Taysom or Knox on this team, honestly.
Yeah.
Phil just kind of sauced us a little bit. He did point out that we passed on Singletary. He went 1 pick after we passed on him. So
there's only so many rounds in a row that we can scoop.
Yeah.
How many we took? Yeah, because we had the Gus.
I did think that when you said that, Ben. I was like, well,
we took Jamal
out of our team.
We basically had the choice between Jamal and Singletary as our running back,
and they're kind of the same dude. If Williams does play a good amount, like they're talking.
I'm more on Jamal there, just because, like, as bad as the Lions could be, I think there's more value in the backfield overall.
Breaking news: the Philadelphia Eagles are practicing at 10:47 p.m. Eastern time, and Miles Sanders is splitting carries with Boston Scott. That news just came out.
Wow,
okay.
Is that Jimmy Kempsey? Is that
It's a man with binoculars.
I'm not seeing the alerts. I'm looking for the alerts.
Did anyone? I think King Coakley, my guy Rob here, wanted the sauce. Ooh, Kyler Justin, that's a sexy QB pairing. Saquon, Jacobs, Mostert, David Johnson, McKissick, James White, Tyreek Evans, Godwin, Devonta Smith, Hardman, Rager, Green, Amari Rogers, James Washington, Troutman, Jared Cook, Zach Ertz at tight end. Thoughts?
Those tight ends suck.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, you're looking at like a ceiling of 6 points every week at tight end.
Yeah, good fucking luck.
Ertz is going to catch like 6 balls 5 times this year. it's going to happen. We're all going to hate it. Not me, because I have a lot.
If I'm drafting Kyler, I'm sorry, I can't have a single stack with AJ Green. I mean, I just can't. At least throw in some Christian Kirk. I mean, come on.
By the way, this report is real. There's a 927 on NBC Sports Edge.
What's it?
Through 7 training camp practices, Sanders has narrowly outtouched Scott, just 35-29 with the first team offense. They're going to have a run-centric offense according to this guy, but it truly sounds like Scott is going to be heavily involved as the preferred pass catcher and change of pace back. Sanders has dealt with injuries and can't be trusted for a full workload. Sanders is currently being drafted as a back-end RB2, while Scott isn't being drafted at all. Rookie Kenneth Gainwell looks like the clear number 3. What's happening?
No, I'll tell you what's happening. These beat reporters fucking write fan fiction, dude. They just like they watch like one play and they're like, this would be a fun narrative to spin around this. Like one.
He gave us the touch counts though. I mean, it's not completely. He said he's gotten 35-29.
He didn't really state his opinion even that much. It was relative fact as opposed to some of these guys that really are fan fiction.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. I guess, it's like the guy who was charting like the air yards at the New England Patriots.
Patriots camp. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, because Damian Harris was catching all those passes and we're like, oh my God. And then he didn't catch a pass.
Can you put Belair's comment up? Because I actually think this is a reasonable take. He says, imagine drafting a.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Why is that not like the real? That's a disaster. And do any of those guys ever pay you off? Even like Gainwell, even if Boston Scott is getting some work, do any of those guys ever win you anything in fantasy football? But people keep chasing them.
I
think there's something there. I think Boston Scott could pay you off too if he is like a change of pace guy with pass catching. Because I mean, they're basically installing the Colts offense. It's Naeem Hines.
The biggest thing I'm reading into that is I have to take Kenneth Gainwell off my board. Not that he was ever really like a target, but like if he can't even beat out Boston Scott, then he's like all the things Eric's saying I tend to agree with, but also like Scott maybe has a little value. Like the pass catcher might have a little value. That was a reason to kind of consider Gainwell, but if Scott's going to be that guy, you can't take Gainwell.
I think it's a fine line, right? Because we talk about wanting to attack these ambiguous backfields, especially where there might be a role up for grabs. And then on the other hand, we want to avoid just the true just quagmire, committees. And we've seen Philadelphia be that year after year. So I understand the hesitation, but on the other side, I do feel like Philadelphia feels like a murky backfield where a guy could step into a pretty defined role and we just don't know who that's going to be. Boston Scott, Kenny Gainwell, or whatever.
Yeah, I would like to offer
in managed leagues, you can cut the guy. So take your stab.
I would like to offer a quick apology to ML, who came in here and gave us news that he was excited to tell us about and get a reaction, and we just ripped him, and now we're talking about it after Matt figured it out.
Yeah.
Respect.
Well, I thought he might be Jimmy Kempski, who's a Philly beat. So no, I was deriding him, and then I realized he was correct.
But it is even further. I know, just really. Oh, Jesus Christ! I prefer Eagles running backs. But like, there are other dudes on the roster.
True.
Like there are other dudes on the roster. Like Jordan Howard is on the Eagles. Kerryon Johnson is on the Eagles. Like, it's a disaster for best ball. Best ball specifically, it's a disaster. And like, you don't have to take an Eagles running back. There are other ambiguous situations. There are other backups that you can take that will pay you off, and it's a cleaner path.
This is a great point, because someone else pointed out here, can't beat out Scott. They practice for 45 minutes. We're all getting too attached to early camp reports. Agreed. At the same time, that's not the bet that I want to make, is to Eric's point. Like, I wanted to know that Gainwell was actually going to be the clear number 2 to even want to be vaguely interested in making that bet.
Yeah, he's already a little thin.
Yeah.
If he's falling behind, then I'm not making the bet.
Yes.
I'm exhausted from saucing teams.
Yeah, we did a lot of saucing.
Let's talk a
Hard
little.
to sauce a lot of teams. Like, we didn't have great sauce there because they all went wide receiver heavy. I mean, they weren't that terrible.
They just didn't go wide receiver heavy enough. I do here. I can pull it up once more.
Saw some more.
I like our team. I like it a lot. Rogers, Lawrence, Etienne, Hunt, Edwards, Connor, Madison, Jamal Williams, Chef's Kiss, 0 RB room, Devontae Adams, Jefferson, A-Rob, Ayuk, Shenault, Schuster, Slayton, Colin Johnson, Marquise Goodwin, Tunyon, Komet, Parham. I love it.
I like it too. I think I might have come around on your point about, like, I do feel like we're one wide receiver short of being awesome. I'm not sure where we sub that out, but
see, I disagree, and I've actually come around to this a little bit. I think I would have leaned what you guys are saying a lot of the draft season, and Leone has kind of rung. Now I know I'm not allowed to talk about Leone's, like, wide receiver takes and stuff on this show, but he like, we have this idea of, right, like, drafting as if you're right. That's what I've been preaching since goddamn April. Is like, this is my premise for every draft ever. Is like, I've hit on my first X number of picks, and when we go wide receiver heavy, we have to be willing to take detours when they make sense.
Right.
And Etienne, whether it was I think it was I actually think the debate is Etienne versus Henderson at that pick. But that detour is like, I mean, maybe we just have different opinions on who the wide receivers are in that range, but I don't think those wide receivers are that much of an opportunity cost to getting the league winning running back, which is Etienne or Henderson or Javonte, whoever your flavor is. I prefer doing that than adding Odell to this team. I think you want that league winner at running back.
The other thing is that we did also get Lawrence and Visca, so subbing out Etienne also kind of breaks the stacking structure a little bit too.
Yeah, I also love Twitter seeing this team and being like, your RBs are weak, and then here I'm sitting here being like, I think our RBs should actually be weaker, and we should have more wide receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly though, like the back-to-back with who was before Connor, and then we got Connor. I mean, that's maybe the range where another receiver wouldn't have hurt. And then instead of Johnson and Goodwin as our last two, we take one of the running backs really late. Like, again, like, there's always running back value late. We could have got another running back very, very late, but someone else ahead of Slayton that is like not Colin Johnson and Marquise Goodwin, because those two are, you're hoping. But, I mean, Johnson's part of the stack, obviously. Goodwin kind of, part of the mini stack, I guess, where we were playing Chicago's offense. But at the same time, like, I think if we had someone else, there wasn't a lot of receivers in that range, but someone with a little bit more of a path that we felt a little more comfortable with ahead of Slayton, I think maybe that's the way we would have felt better about our receivers overall.
Mm-hmm.
So hang on, there's a comment here that I feel like we should go through this, because it seems like sometimes people don't see this the same way we do. This idea, we talk about being right, but why not at wide receiver? I mean, just first structurally, I mean, you start more wide receivers than any other position. So just by pure volume alone, that's the position we want to attack with volume. I do think we draft like we're right with wide receivers just as much. It's just a numbers game positionally, right? With our starting lineups. I mean, and wide receivers, as we've seen, everyone's seen the RotoViz chart. They score more points than running backs at almost every single position in the draft. So just by selecting a receiver over another position, you are drafting like you are right historically. But does anyone else have other tags on that?
I do. One, and Sam points this out, there's more inherent weekly volatility. So you can be right about wide receiver and have less usable weeks from the position you would expect to.
Yep.
And therefore, you actually still want to have a lot of really good wide receivers early so that you're still slotting in additional really high scoring weeks. You're kind of piling those points on. Someone earlier was like, oh, it's half point PPR. I want running backs in the flex. You really don't. You want a wide receiver spike week in the flex because you get the optimized lineup. So you want to have, like, sure, a running back can slot in and get you like 15 points or whatever, but you want a guy who went off for 30, so you're getting constant spike weeks in the flex, right? So that would be, I think, another key. And then the other thing is, like, to your point, when we go 0 running back, we usually take 6 running backs in, maybe sometimes 5, but up to 6 in the 18 round format. If I'm going early running back, I'm only taking 4. So I am adjusting what I'm doing at running back and taking more if I already have the wide receiver bets early.
Kyle, we have that graph as well for the 0.5 PPR. It's wide receivers outscore running backs at basically every single point in the draft.
And that's before you factor in the weekly volatility as well.
Yeah,
that's the point.
It is.
And bus rates before you factor in like full season conceptual concepts.
I mean, that's why the builds that succeed are the wide receiver heavier builds. Like, this isn't in question. Like, we can see it from the macro level when you look at, like, Leone's done all the work on all the builds. Like, that's why it shows out that way.
That's why hyperfragile works, is because you're still putting up a ton of points at wide receiver, right? It's that you're actually keeping your total investment. Like, if this was an auction league, you've kept your total investment in control at the running back position. You still put enough into the wide receiver position to where you're still getting those wide receivers into the flex.
Yeah, and I think it is. You see it in our FFPC drafts. I mean, those drafters, and you see it. We can even see it in the chat right here. Like, a lot of people want to have running backs in the flex, but the parlay you're trying to hit of hitting 3 generational, as Pat called it in his article, legendary running backs over and over through the fantasy playoffs. That's a really hard parlay to hit. Whereas if you're trying to get ceiling weeks from a hodgepodge of elite wide receivers, that's a lot easier bet to make.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to talk about, and it's a bummer that Leone's not here, but I thought his article on ETR about reverse engineering I feel like he's been underselling how good that article is. But I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about it because I've been kind of experimenting with stuff in the puppy to the point where I'm getting lots of screenshots right now. But one of the big takeaways for me was we saw these constructions that worked. 0 RB and hyperfragile were both very successful. And then he kind of sliced and diced the data and saw the type of players that were showing up in these. And there were tons of repeat guys, like specifically in the 0 RB, so much Travis Kelce, so much Michael Thomas, because if you weren't taking running backs in round 1, you were taking those guys. And so the thought experiment I've been having lately is like, how can I benefit from these constructions while getting unique players within those? Like, I've already seen the hyperfragile construction from the 101. Everyone sends me the screenshot of their C-Mac, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Najee Harris team. I'm telling you guys all right now, it is not unique. There are hundreds and hundreds of those teams. And then people are roasting me for taking my DeAndre Swift with Christian McCaffrey. But that's my whole point, is how many people are going to have that? And then you ask yourself, what is the difference in bet between DeAndre Swift and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, or DeAndre Swift and Najee? I think it's like splitting hairs.
I like DeAndre Swift better.
Yeah.
But the ownership on those pairings is going to be wildly different. And the data reflects that we get funneled toward the same type of players selections within these constructions. And so I'm really trying to push myself out of the comfort zone, staying in those constructions, but getting different types of players that are unique. What do you guys think about that?
Perfect.
That's interesting. Yeah. I think to be clear, I like Swift better than Najee, but I agree that CH and him are pretty close, and if you get in that leverage on the field, especially with the CMC star. I think CMC is the spot where you want to think about being unique the most. Because if he smashes, there's just going to be so many CMC teams.
And Dalvin. Same thing. I would lump them together.
Yeah, and everyone takes Dalvin at the 2. Very, very few people get unique at the 2. So I agree. Yeah, I think. Well, I lost my train of thought. Someone else go.
Well, the other thought I've been having lately is the concept of the dead zone has gotten like beaten into the ground. But I do really think these dead zone running backs this year, when we're talking about Swift and Dobbins and Sanders, are more palatable to me as like dead zone running back. To me, the dead zone is the Mike Davis, Myles Gaskin type
Chris
backs.
Carson. Yeah.
Chris Carson. Yeah, but I don't mind grabbing Swift and Dobbins and those guys when I'm flipping the structure of the build. The same thing when we talk about in DFS, where it's like everyone's paying up for Dalvin Cook, and now no one's playing Kirk Cousins and Jefferson, and you can flip the build and then you get in the elite wide receiver. I feel like it's the same thing. I'm going to get the structural benefits, but I'm just going to flip the build and get those other running backs in those middle rounds where now no one wants to take them.
The point I was going to make earlier was that what Leone found is that 0 running back teams weren't succeeding because they all got on the right running back target. They were succeeding because they had a ton of Kelsey, right? And they had a lot of, well, I think it was really Kelsey because they had, Adams. They had a lot of Adams too.
And Diggs. Yeah.
It was all the wide receivers and Kelsey. Yep.
Right.
AJ Brown, Diggs. Yep.
Right. So it's just that they got the guys who had really high upside in the early rounds that other people weren't getting enough of. But arguably from what he showed, you'd still rather be in a hyper fragile structure. So to me, what I've been trying to do is like take Swift. I've been doing this more as a 1 elite running back build, but if I get Swift, I'll take Swift now more in the late 3rd. Before I was like, pay me to take Swift. I'm not going to take him until he comes to me in like the early 4th. Now I'm willing to take him more in the late 3rd and build around him with a 5 running back build and play it like he's a guy that I got in the 1st or 2nd round. And that way I have maybe a Diggs Ridley Swift team, which I think like that I'm getting hopefully like the best of both worlds where I'm getting exposure to those same guys that the true 0 running back teams are.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to that point too is just in the same way we like to think about stacking of like, okay, well, it's really easy. I fire up my double stack in the bring back. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. Like we like thinking in these strategies because it makes we don't have to make as many decisions. So when you say 0 RB, all right, I'm going to click off of running back and I'm just going to hit wide receiver for 5 rounds. And I think that's where we funnel because it just requires less thought. Same with the hyper fragile team. Let me just boom, 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 running backs. And that's why I think even just mixing up your textures, wide receiver, running back, and you're getting in these pockets, but people don't want to think structurally in a creative way, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
You couldn't have nailed it any better. And I think that's Leone articulated it like a million times better than I could, but that is like literally been what I've been trying to do for months. If we like look at what Leone and Herzig found last year, and then what Sean found many years ago, we and this new best ball thing, right? At least as it pertains to these tournaments, we found the golden goose, right? But there's multiple of them, and so like, how do you basically have your cake and eat it too? Between all of this, and like, so sometimes like we went basically 0 RB tonight, right? And sometimes the draft dictates that, and you do it. And sometimes the draft, like you might want to, like, Pete, you were joking about getting like screenshots or whatever, where you're trying to build a little bit more of the hyper fragile thing with like Swift or, CMC Swift teams or whatever. Sometimes the draft, like I have that too. I posted a team the other day that was a CMC. I think I did CMC, CEH, and then it was in the puppy, and I took Henderson. at the 4 or 5 turn. I stopped at three running backs, but like same, totally the exact same idea. People are like, what are you? You're supposed to be the wide receiver guy, and you took George Kittle and 3 running backs in the first 5 rounds. I'm like, well, yeah. When the draft room dictates that strategy, I'm trying to do that, but I'm always trying to approach it with those 2 strategies are the golden goose. How do I can have one, I can have the other, and sometimes I can have both. You can have both, to your point. And like what Pat was saying is like, why can't you have hyperfragile that starts with Swift? Why can't you have hyperfragile that starts with Gibson? Why can't you have hyperfragile? What I've been doing is like, why can't I have hyperfragile that starts with Darrell Henderson in the 5th round of the puppy? Why can't I have Darrell Henderson and Travis Etienne and whatever, right? Kareem Hunt and Chase Edmonds. Why can't that be my hyperfragile? And I'm getting the benefits of hyperfragile, and I'm getting the benefits of 0 RB, and I'm getting everything. And so the whole Leone just absolutely crushed it with like, here's all the concepts that you need to understand and be able to put into practice. And sometimes it's one, and sometimes it's the other, and sometimes it's this weird, middle ground between all of it. But like understanding exactly everything that he articulated is like, you don't need to know anymore. You don't need to know anything else to be successful in this.
I think this stuff would be so much easier if we just put a dollar value on each ADP slot on on the draft board, and we just totaled up how much money everyone spent on each position. Because it's like, to me, like I'm thinking about the Swift builds, like you can do hyperfragile, you can do 1 elite running back, but I'm like basically putting the same amount of capital into the running back position. Like if I had the 4 guys that you just said, that's definitely hyperfragile, but maybe I skip Edmonds and I go, and I get
you can skip, you can punt that one
Singletary
down
to Madison.
Yep.
Yeah. So you get to, so it's the same thing. It's like, we're just like, you just want to only spend like $65 at the running back position, whatever it is. Like you don't want to spend like a ton of your team capital at the running back position.
Yeah. And the other, another analogy for it is like when you're doing the hyperfragile build, you're doing, say, a 3-leg parlay on these 3 running backs. And each time, when you make a bet on the running back, you're already kind of behind the 8 ball, Pat, as you've shown. And then you're adding another one. Okay, now it becomes even less likely. You add a third, it becomes even less likely, but you're still trying to hit that. So say you swap out Swift for Chase Edmonds as your 3rd running back in that hyperfragile build. The structure is still the same. It's just your odds became a little bit of a longer shot, but yet you're supercharging your wide receiver firepower because you now have CeeDee Lamb instead of DeAndre Swift. And so it's just like, Eric uses that language too of like, how far can I push this to the extreme where you're getting the structural benefits? It's not as good of a bet, but it's probably 0.1%, top finisher equity or whatever greatly increases when you're pushing that.
Yeah. And I also think that the running back bet, Swift isn't as good of a bet to, finish in the kind of the legendary, what you need from the guy that you're taking 104 or whatever. But of course he's not. But also if Swift, and I think in PPR points, but if Swift, scores like 17, 18 PPR points, it doesn't kill you. If the guy you have a 104 scores 17 PPR points, you're not going to win this thing. Like you just aren't. So you just need a lot less from the position. And then you put yourself in the position where you're pairing. And if you build smartly around Swift, where you're saying, not only am I going to take Swift and pair him with, 2 wide receivers or a tight end and a wide receiver, but I'm going to be using Swift's week every single week. His score is going in my lineup every single week because I'm building around him like I need that score. So that's how you're maximizing the fact that, he's probably not going to score 23 PPR points a game, but that's okay. You don't need that from that ADP spot. And then you're also getting the most out of what he does do for you. And like Kareem Hunt had a really strong win rate last year, which I think helps illustrate that.
You absolutely need 1% upside in these tournaments. We're talking 155,000 entries in Best Ball Mania 2, 111,000 entries in the Puppy 2. You absolutely need that 1% upside. You need 0.1% upside in the overall construction of the team.
I've been the guy. I'm trying not to be this asshole or whatever, but everybody is so clung to last year. And best ball, these specific best ball contests, we're in year 1, right? We are in 2013 DFS. Everybody thinks oh yeah, look at Best Ball Mania from last year. Look at whatever. Let's look at like I don't mean this as a knock, Pat, but like let's look at the fan ball win rates, right? Let's look at this and that. We are in an environment that has never been experienced before. And like I know, when I say like constantly that like the shit that happened before doesn't matter, people get like annoyed, but like that is where we are right now. Like you said, 155,000. DraftKings is bigger if you're playing on DraftKings. The contests are absolutely enormous. And so I totally get it when like people say, oh, well, it's 3 uncorrelated tournaments, you know, it's you only got to finish top 2 in your league and blah, blah, blah. But I don't think people, if you have not seriously played DFS before, I don't think people are taking into account just how hard this is going to be. And when, like, let's say you're lucky enough to get a team to the final. Let's say you're lucky enough to get a team to the semifinal, to week 16. I bet you will be stunned when you look at the rosters. You're going to be like, holy shit. These teams are absolutely loaded. Like if Darrell Henderson, like imagine if Darrell Henderson goes off. Or imagine if like Traquan Smith or Marquez Callaway goes off, right? And we're only going to get more injuries, right? Devonta Smith is already hurt. Carson Wentz is already hurt. Like we're only going to get more injuries. Wait till you see these teams when there's 200,000 people competing with you, as opposed to last year when it was 5 times smaller than it is right now. So, I've been the guy like leading the charge of the we're not taking this into account enough, and people get really pissed off about it. But like I don't know how many more times we can say like these things are huge.
Mike Davis goes off was a West Coast Gems comment of the night right there. Just wanted to throw that in with
just wish it into existence. And that's the thing. I think to Eric's point, what you're saying is like people get caught up on the sideload tournaments, and you're like, God, fucking in a vacuum. Each one of those doesn't seem that hard, right? You win your group of however many. That's easy. And, your chances are good, but you're having to build a super team that can be that much better than the field week after week after week after week, 4 different tournaments. Like
come win the Thunder. Tell me that you come and play in the Thunderdome 4 weeks in a row and see if you can win it. You can't. I bet you no one can. The best players on the planet can't win the Thunderdome 4 weeks in a row. It's not possible.
What are they doing? The best players of the planet are throwing in cash game lineups that raise their floor, their ability to get to the Thunderdome, but not giving them a great chance of winning it.
Right. So me and Leone are playing it to win, and we actually have an edge against that competition, just like the 4 of us do, and the teams we're building in these contests, but it's still so impossible. Like the probability of winning it 4 times in a row is still so unbelievably low.
The thing that I think is really interesting about what you're saying about throwing out the past is what you're trying to do is determine what the analysis will be in the future. Basically, what the trends of stuff that we haven't seen yet will then tell us in the future. And people will be doing the analyses like Leone's doing, and Leone is sort of doing this too, this sort of trying to be predictive analytics almost in a sense that we haven't even seen the data yet, but understanding that the entire contest and the entire structure is different. So we should be considering how could the data play out differently based on what we have seen, but it is an entirely different set of constraints. And so you're trying to predict what the lessons of tomorrow will be to implement them today. Just like the 2013 DFS thing. The people that figured that out beforehand figured out stacking first. It was very simple. Some of the early really good ones were they figured out how to stack and they crushed. They made tons of money doing that. I mean, that's all you're doing, and it makes perfect sense. It's just that people have a really hard time seeing beyond the moment enough to understand that.
Yeah, I did want to say to the Mike Davis point, which was obviously a joke, but I thought it just reminded me of another point that was really good in Leone's article where he talked about these Todd Gurley teams that were advancing. And Todd Gurley helped people advance their teams. In these hyper-fragile constructions. Like he actually was delivering because he had enough output in the beginning of the season where he did help teams advance. But you obviously don't want Todd Gurley this year because if you advance a Todd Gurley team, you're not going to take this whole thing down. And so it's like one of those things where you'd actually rather have had, like, regardless of whatever the win rates were, like you much rather want, a DeAndre Swift, or if you could have gotten, like a Cam Akers or, the guy who's coming on right at the end is actually way better to have if you can get him through. So I still think you want to think about that. Like if you get Mike Davis and Mike Davis ends up with like a pretty nice advance rate this year, but then he completely craps out for the last like 5 weeks, then he was a terrible pick, right? And like no Mike Davis team really has a shot if the teams are as low as we think they're going to be. So I think you got to think that through as well.
I love this idea that Eric was pushing really hard there, that like you have to assume that you're right. There's going to be league winners. The team that wins this is going to have the league winners. So like if we look back to last year, they're going to have Kamara. They're probably going to have Justin. I don't know if Justin Jefferson went off in week 16, but I know for most of the year he was like one of the biggest league winner, win rate guys. I know in Leone's research he showed up.
The drafters winner had Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. So you're going to look at some of these guys as you're drafting them, you're going to be competing against other teams that have them and that same combination. And so what Eric is saying is like, especially like with like the DeAndre Swift example, you're deciding he's going to be a top 5 running back. And so this whole idea of like, I mean, I'm kind of just restating it, but like trying to get fewer things right. Well, if he's a top 5 running back, I don't need to take a lot of other running backs. I need to then not have to necessarily get as many league winners right at receiver and have more outs. Because when I get to that point, I want to have more ways to score the receiver points. I mean, I don't know, maybe it just clicked for me or something, but
and I think how I think about it is, to Leone's point of kind of, he made it on the pod today. I don't know if you guys listened to his pod where he also kind of digested the article, which was really good with his takeaways. And again, same thing. This is how my approach to this entire draft season was a lot of that made me actually, feel very good that Leone landed on some of the things that I was thinking, but we basically, like Pete, you said, we need to push it further, but it is the draft as if you're right. That's the entire premise of everything that Leone was basically saying. And so when you get right, like you said, I took Aaron Jones and I took DeAndre Swift, and they are top 5 running backs. I don't need another running back. However, once I do that, now let's kick the can really far down the road to the point where I get an upside guy that I don't need. Right, I don't need his weekly score. So we had the Gus Edwards conversation, we had the Jamal Williams conversation. Like I don't want those guys when I've drafted Aaron Jones and DeAndre Swift, because I have drafted them as if I'm right. Now give me pick your poison, right? Give me Damian Williams, give me Darrington Evans, give me Chuba Hubbard,
Madison,
give me Madison, give me Tony Pollard, give like however the draft that you're in plays out. But now, because of the bets that I've made, there are archetypes of players that I need to be taking that fit with that structure. And so that's how I've been drafting the whole time. And so like I said, it's I'm going to put the feather in the cap of like Leone is like articulating that's how we should be drafting. There are archetypes of players and we need to be fitting them all in together based on these different structures that we're doing, right? 0 RB, robust RB, and then this kind of, modulation of shit that's in the middle. And you have to be matching those players together appropriately. And that's literally that's how you win. I don't give a shit what name it is. I just want the archetype of that guy, and let's fit them all together over 150 teams. Or I know that people are in the chat are like, how do you win without 150? Like if I have 10 teams, it's still the same conversation. It really is.
Yeah. So one thing I just wanted to say on that point and the different types of players, I feel like, and another recommendation for a pod, Gretch and Sean just did an exercise where they ranked who would be next season's top 3-round picks. And this is one thing. If you say you're the Mike Davis truther or the whatever, do this exercise. Say, where do you think Mike Davis will be drafted next year? And I bet your mind will be blown. And you realize when you're drafting him, you are holding on for dear life. You're just praying for inertia from last year and not thinking for him to be drafted where he's going this year, next year, you would have to have an awesome season again for 16 weeks as a 28-year-old journeyman running back. Like that puts things in perspective. So when you talk about Travis Etienne or Javonte Williams, who could be 2nd, 3rd round picks next year, you see why they could finish so strong to warrant that draft slot and why they then fit so well with these 0 RB
And
builds.
the players that Sean and I talked about as examples, like Juju going into year 2, AJ Brown last year going in the 4th and 5th round, like I think that's so much easier to understand it when you actually think back. Justin Jefferson's jump last year, Stefon Diggs' jump even, who is a player that is a little bit older. It's not just young players, but was somebody that had circumstances leading that he could break out. Like for some reason, it's very, very hard to imagine this stuff going forward, but all you have to do is look at ADP one year to the next, and you'll see, all the examples of the ones that you should have been hitting on, which are the examples that are making up all of the research that we're all doing, that passed on the great upside running back research and all that stuff. That's what's compiling it. Those are the names. Go look at the names if you wanted. Spend some time looking at it. Who are the guys that jumped up into the top 2 rounds of next year? I mean, it's super helpful. It really is. Genuinely, it's one of the most helpful things you can do to go look at that stuff and be like, oh, these were those players. This is what everyone's saying, That's who I'm looking for this year, this guy.
And I love when you say it because, we all, no shade, Gretch, we get a youth bias sometimes with like the architect. Oh, this is a second-year player. This is a rookie. This is a whatever. And so there's often that uncertainty around it. However, Stefon Diggs was the league winner last year. Right, Calvin Ridley was the league winner.
Keenan Allen as well.
Keenan Allen has been a league winner before, including last year. Right, looking at exactly your example is go look at who was the dude that got taken in the 6th round and was a 2nd round pick the next year. Who was the guy that was a 10th round pick and went in the 2nd round the next year? And it's just an archetype conversation. An archetype doesn't have to be rookie, 2nd year, whatever. Archetype is archetype. It's not, we try to put it into these rigid definitions, and it's not that, right? Juju can be the old Juju could be somebody that's not the same age as Juju or whatever. The archetypes are that's the important thing that people need
and
to
the biggest
away.
thing
We miss that so much.
The biggest thing I've learned on the exact archetypes from Sean over a lot of years of working with him, managing teams with him, is that it's good football players. It's not worrying about circumstance. It's not worrying about Mike Davis because he's going to get touches in the Atlanta offense. It's guys that I believe are really, really good at football based on their track record. With young guys, they had an awesome prospect profile, as well as, maybe showed something really early in their career. Or it's guys that have just ridiculous physical athletic traits. That's the other side of it. Chase Claypool came in immediately, was very, very good. But you're not winning a league with a guy just because his role was so perfect. Or it can happen, but that is so much rarer for an average NFL player to just have.
You need both, right?
Yeah.
How do you? I was going to ask how do you feel about that? Where you need the combining of the two, right? If you get the really talented player who also then has the role, then it's oh shit.
But he has to be talented is sort of the point, because the circumstances we think are going to impact the player from the outside right now is going to change throughout the season, right? So Mike Davis, what we think is going to happen, it's probably not going to be what his case is in week 6 or week 8. To Pete's point, he's not going to do it for 17 weeks. That's the ultimate point. You're just clinging for dear life all year. Anything changes, you're screwed. Quadri Allison, who got a great report, maybe he starts looking really good, and Arthur Smith decides he's a bigger back. He looks more like Derrick Henry to me. Boom, Mike Davis loses his work. Whatever, who knows? But when it's a player like a Stefon Diggs, right, who has always shown that he's incredibly good. Yes, the situation had to be great for him to absolutely explode, or it helped certainly. At the same time, number one, you're not necessarily hanging on for dear life. He's going to be productive to some degree. The miss from the Stefon Diggs, AJ Brown archetype last year for me, guy I was really on was DJ Moore, and I'm back on him again this year because he was very efficient. The role wasn't great, but he was still good enough. He didn't sink my teams. I finished top 20 in the main event with him as my 3rd round pick. That can still work. It's not. It didn't. It would have been better if he was a better player. I maybe would have won the damn thing, but it wasn't terrible, right? But I'm still back on that train this year for the same reason that I was on Diggs and Brown last year, were the ones that did hit. It's you have to have the skill, or the thread, the hole to thread is so much narrower when you have the skill. They create their own situations. The things that change, they create that. Diggs created that to some degree last year. Going into last year, there was this conversation him and Brown might be close in targets. He was just better than John Brown by a lot, and that expanded over the course of the year. Josh Allen found him as his number one way more later in the year. I mean, like it starts with the longer view. Is the player good enough? Can he be a superstar long term? Like sort of this dynasty view, like Sean and I have been talking about. Like, find good players.
It's a combination.
There's a guy here. Yeah. So one guy I've been struggling with this idea, because there's a couple guys I really like Will Fuller to me fits this mold really well. And it's like, not only is he an awesome player, but he could be going to a quarterback who's going to be taking a second-year leap. And if he does take a second-year leap, it's probably because Will Fuller's there. So you're kind of getting, you're getting the full benefit of having Tua break out if you select Fuller. I think Michael Gallup has a chance in he's getting a discount because of the crowded target share. He's got outs, if one of those guys gets hurt. Cooper obviously not fully healthy, and I think Gallup is a very talented player. The guy that I'm struggling with a little bit is Galladay, because I don't like his ADP. I wish he was going more like where Sutton goes after Judy, but he's talented, and I'm avoiding him because I don't like the Giants, but that's, I think maybe the exact mistake we're warning people against. So I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on him.
So I was before you were going to say that, and it's actually kind of a perfect addition to the Galladay point, was what I was going to say is every player has a certain level of risk and a payoff. And so like, this is literally how I people do projections, Gretsch is the projections guru, right? Him and Leone are crushing the projections. But like I don't really do projections. I'm like a market-based guy, right? Like I have my guys in all the different areas of the market that I'm drafting, and I'm playing off the ADP and like constructing teams based off the ADP. Like I have access, I have projections, but I don't really give a shit about them. But because my entire thing is every player has a certain level of risk and they have a certain payoff that they can give me. And like that payoff is like basically the most important part, right? Like, so like, that's why like I'm bullish on CeeDee Lamb, because CeeDee Lamb can pay me off in a way that I don't think anyone can pay me off in that tier. Right. And like people are like, oh, aren't you worried about Amari? Aren't you worried about this? I'm like, I mean, yes, if I'm making like a medium projection, I absolutely am worried about that. If I'm worried about getting paid off, I don't give a shit about any of that, because CeeDee Lamb can be the 106 next year.
For sure.
Like, that's the exact reason some offenses, there's multiple clear targets in the same offense.
Gallup, anyway, Pat brought up Gallup. Yeah. It's like, are you worried about Amari and CeeDee for Gallup? Of course. Who the fuck isn't? But like, I'm not worried about getting paid off on Michael, like 7th round Michael Gallup. First of all, I'm probably never going to lose on 7th round Michael Gallup. I'm only going to get paid off. So yes, I'm going to keep same thing with Visca. Like I'm not going to lose on 7th round Visca. Like I'm only going to get paid off, So like it's that concept that drives every single decision that I make. And it's like, I feel like people miss the boat so much on that idea. And that is like, I mean, when you brought up Gallup, it's just, that's what brought it to my mind. It's just because it's like, there's only profit. There's only profit on X. Like there's probably like 50 players in the draft where there's like, it's only profit on this player, Will Fuller. There's only profit on Will Fuller. Yeah. There's literally only profit on Will Fuller.
So to get back to your Galladay point, and on that note, like my concern is that he struggles a little bit going to a new team, right? I kind of think that a lot of what Eric just said applies to Galladay, and that he's not going to be a big miss. He's a small miss player for sure.
Small miss, big win.
But I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if Galladay's a big win. That's what I was going to say. I think he's a small miss, small win, because I don't know that the Giants' offense is good enough, and he's going to like need a little time to assimilate. He's never been super target dominant. He was more just like a good air yards and downfield guy, but then now he's going to a worse downfield passer.
But we were excited about Darius Slayton in like the 9th round range last year, because he had some big games as a deep threat with Daniel Jones. So I actually do think like the fact that he's not target dominant is actually a good thing, because we don't trust Daniel Jones to be able to be like consistent. Like we need the splash plays. So if he can get there on like 3 or 4 plays, like all the better. He can be good. Darius Slayton.
You guys know better than me. Can a player like him grow to target dominance, or would that be like a huge outlier?
No, definitely, especially in a new offense. He can definitely I mean, Diggs did it last year for one example. Diggs had done other things than Galladay has, but he was in a pure downfield role and then did a lot more in different depths. They certainly can, yes. I can't think of any great examents, but there's other ones. Cortland Sutton in year 1 was a downfield guy only. In year 2, he started to get a lot more in the intermediate range. Like we've seen.
My main question is the Diggs Galladay comp is like what everybody defaults to. And like I see it, but I also think it's really disingenuous. And so I'm trying to like Galladay is one of those guys where I'm really light on, actually.
Yeah, me too. That's why I brought him up. Because he kind of fits what I should like, but I'm not drafting him.
Exactly. And so like he falls. So like we took Etienne tonight over Kenny Galladay, and I'm trying to understand exactly where I should be valuing someone like Kenny Galladay, in this market. And I really, really don't know.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that archetype too of, who can be this year's Stefon Diggs, who have established players that we know are good, who now have a change in situation that might be able to vault their value. And the two guys I keep coming back to are Odell and Cooper Kupp. And Odell's situation isn't necessarily wildly different. I think the Browns could be a lot better this year. Odell had a weird year. He was banged up. Everything sounds like he's good now. And then Cooper Kupp, he's getting a massive upgrade at quarterback. I'm kind of shocked that his ADP isn't that different than what it was last year with Jared Goff at quarterback. And I feel like same thing with the Henderson arguments. I feel like the market isn't accounting for the quarterback shift as much as we could. And I don't think Kupp can necessarily get to what Diggs did, but I think Odell could have a season like that again if he's fully healthy. So those are kind of the guys I've been placing some of those bets on over Galladay.
I got a totally random
name
that it doesn't fit changing teams or whatever, but Robbie is a guy. I know we're bullish on DJ Moore. Trust me, I have a ton of DJ Moore, but Robbie is a guy. I have more Robbie than I have DJ Moore. And it is Robbie earned something last year that I did not expect. I don't think anyone expected to see what Robbie did last year. And it didn't work out because he didn't score touchdowns. That's it. Full stop. If Robbie scored touchdowns last year, we would be having a very, very different conversation about the target leader on a good offense. I know,
but it's not about the target leader. They're both good bets.
Correct.
This is the exact situation I was thinking of when you're.
They're the same bet, right?
Yeah.
DJ Moore is better than Robbie, in my opinion. I don't think that's really debatable. But DJ Moore is going in the third, fourth.
Yeah,
I'm taking him. We're not having that kind of conversation.
They're both small win, big or small loss, big win.
Like bets. Small loss, huge win at their cost. Yeah. I keep coming back to Robbie, which is like Robbie is the 6th round version of DJ Moore, who is he's not as good as DJ Moore, but like we saw something last year that was totally unexpected. We thought he was this just down the field flyer. And the next thing you know, he's the opposite of a down the field flyer and he can do everything. And now we know he can do it. It's like Antonio Gibson at wide receiver. He can do one thing. We know for sure.
Yeah.
And then we see him do something else. And you're like, well, that's interesting. And now we just need him to score some fucking touchdowns.
Yeah, but the exact same points you just make have been made for Moore. He's shown the ability to do everything, Correct. And we need him to score some fucking touchdowns. It's
so like drafted fucking Panthers wide receivers.
Yeah, I agree.
And they're super condensed. You know what it reminds me of a little bit is Robert Woods when he went from Buffalo to the Rams, and all of a sudden he was like real interesting. I just pulled it up. He had 781 yards in that season. In 12 games, he had 13.7 PPR points that year. And then the following year, he stepped it up, had his career year, 16.6 points per game. That was a 2018 Rams team that wasn't actually that much better because 2017 was the huge Galladay year, right? So, or the huge Gurley year. So, it's kind of the second thing where like the second year in the offense, he like even has a secondary breakout after showing more than we thought he had. I like Robbie Anderson. I was a little cool to him to start the draft season, but I've been trying to get more of him in the last like 3 weeks or so.
And I'll also say, Pete, I really like the Odell and Cup calls too. I mean, we kind of just glossed over them, but I think those are good calls.
So can we talk about Odell for 1 second? I couldn't possibly agree more on Cup, but what's like the real true bull case on Odell? Like, is it just like more pass volume in Cleveland, or like what's the real, like, Odell becomes a, catapults himself up into the elite tier? What's the bull case?
I think it's that he's been dealing with injuries for like 4 straight seasons, and the only year he played 16 games, I just pulled up his log, since he first started really dealing with injuries was his first year in Cleveland, where everything kind of went bad for the team, and there was just like Baker wasn't good. 2019, the year before last. Last year he only played 7 games. His last year in New York he only played 12, and he still had a 1,000-yard season in 12. He only played 4 the year before that. So the real bull case, I think, is just like it's all been kind of simmering underneath the surface since we saw the amazing 22, 23, 24, age 22, 23, 24 seasons. And, he's still that guy, and he stays fully healthy, and the offense really fits him. Like, that's sort of
he's 28 years old. He turns 29 in November. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not Emmanuel Sanders.
Because he was crazy efficient, early in his career.
Yeah, I guess that to me, almost the question comes out: does he have the athleticism to take those slants to the house like he was earlier in his career? I mean, if he has that, I do see it, because I think the Browns are going to be really good. And if you eliminate the health concerns, I don't even think he needs to see the Diggs target volume to do it. He could be more in the 8 to 9 targets a game and be really efficient and smash.
No, the Bills' offense is not super efficient for like a Diggs, right? I don't mean that they're not efficient. They're efficient relative to other offenses, but like the efficiency you can get in a Cleveland Browns offense that is running for fucking 7 yards a carry for Odell, like he could just go nuts on 75 catches. Stefon Diggs, catching a ton of 3-yard hitches is a very different scenario. So I still go a little bit back and forth on Odell, because I'm like a massive Odell truther, but I do get a little bit of the warm and fuzzies on, like, if this dude is healthy, and like, because I know this offense is good, like that's not a debate, and so that's where I feel like I was probably a little bit lazy, where it was like, I don't really want Odell. He's getting a little older or whatever, and now I see like this. I just know this offense is good, like this, and this offense is efficient. That's probably the biggest thing. So I think you guys might be swaying me a little bit.
The stat that I have been, sorry, Pat, but the stat that I've been referencing a ton that I really love, I love to break down yards per route run into yards per target and targets per route. Yards per target is not very stable, but I think
we love it when you do it. We love it when you do it.
I think it's really interesting in the sense that we learn if a player is good once the ball's thrown to him. Can he catch enough passes? Can he, create yards after the catch? Can he create yards on the balls that are thrown to him? That is important. But we also have talked a ton. Pat and I have had a million conversations about this on stat chasing last year, all these, for all time, that we shouldn't be talking about targets as opportunity. Targets are earned. Routes run is the opportunity, right? And so what I love looking at targets per route run. I want an efficient player who's good at football when the targets are thrown to him, but he also needs to be able to earn heavy target volume. So the argument, like all these conversations we're having, I have this little database I can pull it up. Like Robbie Anderson last year, what you were saying shows in the targets per route run. His career high was 22.6%. He jumped to 24.3%. His last year in New York is at 16% targets per route run. Up over 20% is good. Up around 25% is great. He was at 24.3% last year. So he took this huge step forward. It's clear in his data.
His ADOT also came down, which is going to help that too.
Right.
But I mean, it's still,
can you say it louder?
The Robbie thing? You just want to hear it again?
Just keep going.
Yeah. So the Odell thing is that in his early years, he was over 25% each of his first 5 seasons. The last couple of years, he's been 22.7, 24.2. Those are still good numbers. But he's also shown this ability to be super target dominant. And that's sort of, I think, the bull case on Odell. You asked earlier about Kenny Golladay versus Diggs. I was pulling those up. Diggs, early in his career, multiple seasons over 23% targets per route run. Even when he was a deep threat, it was 21.6%, which is really good for a deep threat. Last year, it jumps up. Kenny Golladay, his career high was 20.2%. Before last year, in a 137 route sample, because he was so injured, he was up in the 23.4% range. But again, very small sample. 2019, he had a good year, 19.3%. So to me, Golladay is different than Diggs in the sense that he's shown the ability to be very efficient. His yards per target every year is really good. He's very good at like high pointing balls, catching passes, producing yards on the balls that are thrown to him. He has not shown really a target dominance that tells me he has like Diggs type ascension potential. That's where I draw that line. Like you asked that exact question earlier. And that's the case for Beckham, right? And that's the case for Cooper Kupp. That's why Cooper Kupp, like he's always been really good on a route run basis.
We put Cooper Kupp in an archetype that he does not deserve to be in because of he's a white slot receiver. That's a fact. He has.
I want to just say. I want to say real quick one.
He has elite upside. I know we don't like to think about it, but he has.
Well, he was what, wide receiver 5 1 year? I mean, he has already shown that he's got a huge ceiling. I did want to just close out the Beckham point with the fact that I think, and Ben kind of covered this with the yards or with the target per route run. Of course, I was going to the yards per route run stats as well, Ben. But like there's this narrative that he kind of like sucked in his final year in New York, and then it didn't work out in Cleveland. He had above 2 yards per route run every single year in New York. He had a 2.26 yards per route run in 2018 in New York. He was really good in New York throughout. And 1.81 in 2019, he falls off. But 1.81 off top, I think like T. Higgins had 1.81 and CeeDee Lamb had like 1.83 last year. Like, that's still pretty good. Like, it wasn't like he sucked. And then last year before tearing his ACL, 1.79. So he's been like, he hasn't been in that elite range anymore, but he's still like kind of sniffing that. If he's, if actually able to play a full season healthy, I think he could pretty easily get back above 2 yards per route run again, because he's turned 29 in November. I think the narrative on him is a little bit incorrect that, he's essentially coming off 3 bad seasons. He's coming off like 1.5.
This was fun.
It was.
Can we,
I think we're all falling asleep. We got that.
Can we do like some sort of like a hot take on a wide receiver before we log off here?
I did want to ask you something, Eric. I don't know if this is going to get us down a whole new rabbit hole, but you mentioned earlier like the whole thing of let's say you have like the 2 early running back, you go the Swift and Etienne or whatever, and then you're taking, or maybe it's Swift and Gibson, and then you're taking the 2 really late stabs. You're taking like Madison and Hubbard or something.
Right.
And I've heard Justin Herzig talk about like primarily, and I wish Leone was here too, because I think he's more on the other side of this too. Like that primarily you still want to be trying to advance. Like, maybe Swift doesn't hit the massive ceiling. He's just like one of the guys that's really nice to have. Like Justin's team that won last year, I believe, had Chris Carson on it. Chris Carson missed a bunch of time with injury. Yep. So you're like, he was nice to have. He wasn't necessarily the guy you had to have. But because, he also had David Montgomery in addition to Kamara, right? He's able to – Chris Carson's still helping him enough. It's all kind of coming together. Like, I just want to get your thoughts on, like, that because, like, if you take a Gus Edwards or if you take a Chase Edmonds or, someone, A.J. Dillon, someone in that range – that's a little bit more expensive, getting one of those teams through could be a huge component in you actually taking this thing down.
So I go ahead, Pete. Pete, go ahead.
I was just going to say, real quick on that point is I think too, we get caught up in like, we don't like these guys that don't catch passes. I've been getting shit for my, random Dobbins stuff, but to your point, Pat, like getting to there, we saw Justin's Kamara team and obviously Kamara checks all the running back boxes, but he had that 6 touchdown game. There could be these players, the Swift explosion game, the J.K. Dobbins explosion game. We know those guys are capable. That could be, we say in, the guy you need. They could be the guy you need to advance in one of those mini tournaments in week 15, 16, 17. Same with Derrick Henry.
You stole my whole thunder.
Oh,
you
sorry.
stole my whole thunder.
Go for it.
So what I was gonna lead with, which actually wasn't like the perfect answer to what you're asking, Pat, was what we think we need in week 17 of this year. We really don't know. We cling so much to what Herzig won with last year. Because he was a good structural drafter, he snuck a Kamara team through. He was the only Kamara team. If you think that is like a good probabilistic bet, you're probably pretty crazy. To sneak a guy who gets 6 touchdowns, like that is such an egregious misfortune for everyone else that was there to have a Kamara team sneak through. And so I feel like it's one of the perfect examples that we are trying to look at last year and draw way too many strong conclusions from what happened in that tournament. However, I want to use what Herzig has done. Like, he was brilliant in last year's tournament with the hyperfragile, with all of that. So I want to use that to my advantage, but I don't want to be clung to like the actual results of Alvin Kamara scored 6 touchdowns. Like, I think that's where we really start to derail ourselves. And that is the thing that I become like I said, multiple times on this, on this show, I become like the asshole where I'm like, we shouldn't look actually at Herzig's team. But like, he happened to like land on the right construct, which is what we're trying to do, which is what we have discussed tonight, all night, trying to land on the right construct. He did it and snuck a running back through that got him 6 touchdowns.
But I'm actually more curious not about the Kamara part of it, but instead like the Carson Montgomery part of it, where he got the team not through to the final round, but advancing, right? And Kamara helped a lot in that. But it's like I guess, isn't there a counter argument to the idea that you take, you got Gibson and Swift, now you're done until you're basically taking your Pollards, Madison, just your full lottery tickets, right? So you might need a few more weeks just to make sure, like that team can blow up week 17 and finish just a few points shy of second place in the league. So there's, I think, some balance there, or there's an argument that there is, where you still probably want, like a Gus Edwards type who's got more usable weeks to help you advance in the first place.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's the biggest struggle. I bet it's the biggest struggle for Herzig and Leone and people that are like, when people say, I'm just trying to get teams through to the playoffs, they don't actually really know what they mean. That has always been my argument in this whole circumstance, is that you say you want to get teams through. And so to your point, I want to draft, I want to attach on, I would just want to include Gus Edwards on this team that has Aaron Jones and Antonio Gibson. But like, how do you know that gets you further through than the team that took Antonio Gibson and like punted off RB2, because you punted off wide receiver 3 and flex, right? We've had this conversation quite a bit on like this show or other shows or whatever. But to your point, like I really don't. I wish I knew the answer. I wish anyone had the answer. My ultimate answer to the question of, how do you handle that position? It's just that you would probably agree that running back is far more fragile than any other position. And so I'm trying to ultimately make that my decision. What position is the most fragile and the most replaceable? People often ask about quarterback too. Like, should I take a third quarterback? Or like, when should I take this quarterback? Same thing. It's super replaceable. So I always defer to wide receiver, and I defer to kicking it down the road on running back and trying to embrace as much variance as I can into the running back position. And like, I really don't know the answer, but all I'm trying to do every single draft is basically embrace as much variance as I can at running back. And that's a super like cop out answer, but that's really what I'm trying to do.
That's what all roads lead toward. Picking the wide receiver, deferring to the wide receiver. Guys, thank you for tuning in for a marathon ship chasing stream. Erik, tell people what's going on with Spike Week. You launched the Discord. What are you cooking up over there?
Yeah, we are launching a website hopefully soon. We have to jump through corporate hoops. I work at a big conglomerate now, so I have to, get all the T's crossed and I's dotted. But soon to be like literally a full-fledged website with rankings and tiers and all sorts of just fun tools that everybody can use for their best ball drafts. But right now, if you go to spikeweek.com, you can join the Discord. And there's I didn't really realize how many sickos there were out there in the best ball space. You guys probably did with your Discord, but man, it's crazy. Everybody is super active and talking about best ball strategy. So if you're interested in getting in another Discord, not just the Overs Discord, Spike Week.
Yes. No, Spike Week and the Deposit Kingdom Discord are the shaking hands emoji. We are friends. I need to get in there. I will be getting in there soon.
Me too.
Ben Gretsch, you are we're in stealing signals mode. We're getting premium content now. Tell the people what you're cooking up. You had the post letting people know kind of the plans, but we're off to the races.
Yeah, I wrote for like 10 to 12 hours today. it was hard to get back into full-on writing mode, but I was at my computer all day. I wrote up an off-season stealing signals for the AFC and NFC South, just sort of my takes on every team, the signals and noise, the key stats and metrics that I think are important for basically every player for all those teams. So, wrote up Jonathan Taylor and AJ Brown and LaVisca Chenault and so many guys, DJ Moore. It was a an eventful piece because there's so many guys in the South divisions that I like to talk about. I'm going to be doing the other divisions in 3 more posts. And then, going to be doing rankings and all these other things. So go sub, off-season content, kind of a draft kit type thing. And then obviously in season will be the stealing signal stuff.
Yep. Pat, any plugs here before I do some ship chasing housekeeping?
Yeah, I'll say there's some good Dynasty stuff over on the premium side. NBC Sports Edge, got my Dynasty ranks up over there, and going to be writing up for the Draft Guide a review of a Dynasty startup draft, and also working on some running back research there, which is coming. And Ben and Sean are going to be on, as I mentioned earlier, they're going to be on the pod on Tuesday. So check that out at 2:30.
Awesome. Yes. And as far as ship chasing here, a few things. So Gretsch, Pat, and I are in a main event league right now, a slow draft. We released the first mini-sode for the Discord members. The video is for YouTube members only. The audio will trickle out on delay on the feed, but if you want to get early access to that, you can become a member. Lots of good conversation going on in there. Also, we announced a listener league for our ship chasing YouTube and Discord members as well. You have a week to submit a video telling us why you want to be in this league, why you deserve to be in this league. I recommend full-on pandering, being funny and or creative, preferably all of the above. You can send those submissions to my email. I posted that in the Discord, or you can shoot me a DM on Twitter or Discord. And then next week, this was kind of our send-off for best ball season. All of us are still going to be drafting lots of best ball teams, but we are shifting into season-long managed drafts here as far as our content on ship chasing. We're going to be releasing our full schedule, literally drafts upon drafts upon drafts, kicking off next week with Hassan and Blair from RotoViz. Each year we do our quad draft with them. We got Gretsch joining us this year, so it'll be a penta draft with our RotoViz brethren over on KFFC. So that is going to be very fun. I think that covers it all, guys. See you in the Discord. See you around Twitter. Keep drafting wide receivers. Peace.